Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, to this August 15th edition of the Nevada City Planning Commission. We are called to order. This Planning Commission meeting convenes on the ancestral territories of the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe. And we'll have a Pledge of Allegiance. Would you like to lead us, Rod? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Rod. And Donna, would you like to have a roll call?
Yes.
Silence phone.
Commissioner Shishko?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Van Zant?
Here.
Vice Chair Cobden? Here. And Chair Knight?
Here.
All present.
I was going to say present, just to mess her up.
Right. This is the first meeting for Commissioner Shishko, who isn't a commissioner yet. Is there a swearing in? It's on the agenda someplace, right? It's the first item on our agenda. Do we have a clerk to swear in our new commissioner?
We do. Our Vice Mayor Klein is going to swear in our new commissioner.
Excellent.
Welcome to Ann Shishko as our new commissioner. You can step up to the dais or to the lectern.
I'm going to have to ask you to repeat after me.
Do I need to do it into the microphone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I, Ann Shishko, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. We'll stop there.
It's good, I can read. I, Ann Shishko, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Commissioner.
Thank you.
You can keep that as a souvenir. I'm signing these.
She can have the packet.
Thank you, Mr. Vice
You want
Chair.
to give a big speech?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
She can have that.
Thank you.
Next is a presentation from Mayor Gary Peterson. And
So we're going to get the PowerPoint up?
Yes, I got it.
Sure.
yeah, I wondered the same thing. That's after.
Waiting for the PowerPoint to come up.
Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, to see you all, some of you for more than once or twice this week. It's been a busy week. There we go. All right. I am here to talk to you about how I view a number of things, including my year as the mayor. And sort of as the mayor, you sort of get to set some direction and platform. I come from a really long tradition of community service. That's why I'm here. That's what I've done my entire life. Came out of my family that way and have been unable apparently to stop ever since, even through a couple of rounds of retirement. But it's really true that I believe this, that the living we make, we get from what we get, the living, we work, we do things, but really what we really get is from what we give. Everything important I ever got in my life is not from what I took, but from what I gave. And I believe that's true. And I sort of kicked that off because I'm thinking a lot about our entire community, the roles that we play. I have declared the Year of the Neighborhood. I'll say more about that. But my focus is on our community. But it is also, next slide. Who do I point at?
She's doing it now.
Okay, I'll point at you. Look at this. One of my heroes, not because I understand the physics, but because I appreciate his really amazing view of human beings and how we interact and what we work. But the real truth of it is that a life lived in service is what matters. As I always like to quote Annie Lamott, the author, who says that, yes, service is the path to enlightenment, but it is a long and dusty journey which requires snacks and magazines. And it is, in fact, a long and dusty journey. I like being in Nevada City because one of the things I've been around a lot, been in a lot of cities. I'll tell you that in the city of Salinas, I couldn't talk about enlightenment, or I couldn't talk about the magic of Nevada City, which is why we're here in so many ways. And I'm not afraid to talk about that, even when I'm facing down some seriously technical people. But we all know it's true in our own way. And I think that matters a lot. And I think about that when I look at our city, I look at our council, and I look at the fabric of who we are together and how we work. So I'm really here for two reasons today. One is to acknowledge your service and to thank you for the critical, important roles that you play in guiding our community, supporting our community, and weaving the fabric of our community. That's it's really important, the work that you do. None of us would have this. We really are a citizen government, and we really are. It's one thing when you have 5, 6, 7 people who step up to take responsibility for the quality of life in our community, and you're in a town of 180,000, whoever those people are that do it. When you're in a town of 3,000, we know who we are, and we know how we come together to support this really critical thing that we call community. When I was inducted as mayor, I talk about Nevada City. We call Nevada City a lot of things, and people have called Nevada City a lot of things for many years. But really what Nevada City is home. It is home for all of us. That's why we're here. And it is community, is how we come together to protect and nurture what each of us individually understands as home, but together we call collectively community. It takes all of us to do that. So I'm here to thank you for that. And then I want to talk about how I see things working in the city, not just now, but we've come through quite a journey to get to where we are now. We are becoming a very, very high-functioning city. And in particular, I look to the Planning Commission. There's just so many people in our city haven't yet understood that the Planning Commission is not now what it used to be. It's very different. You get the work done. We all get the work done. The council gets the work done. But we do it together, and that's really critical. Next slide, please. So, and then we'll go to the next one. Building community is, go ahead. We build community by being together, as I said. It is a passion. I think, we have a long Western history of the gold rush and those preceded the gold rush. And it's really interesting. We have these ideas about the West, and we still promote the idea of the lone hero who really drives the success of our communities, or saves everybody, or is heroic. That's great. But the truth is, in the West, forever, if you did not have a community, you did not survive. The truth is not the single lone individual. The truth is vibrant, caring communities. That's what it takes to survive. And as I look at our world today and where we are, and I see the continuous division, I see the uproar, the upheaval, my goal in all of this work is to unify rather than divide. And I would say about Nevada City, ask anybody that's been here for a while, one of the things that people say that matters to them is that we are a real community. And I completely agree with that. That's why I'm here. But at the same time, like so many communities, and we are resilient, but we've all been battered and bruised by economies, by the pandemic, by political rhetoric. It's just been one of the more difficult times, and I'm an old guy, I've been around a long time. It's been hard in the last few years for everyone. So when I look at it, community and I talk about building community, what I'm really talking about reinforcing the fabric of community that is already strong here, but I think needs some work, you know, a little darning here and there, a little reconnecting here and there. So that's what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, that's right. Let's go back to that one. Yeah, so I declared the year of the neighborhood. There was a couple reasons why I did that, which we'll go into here in a minute. But as I looked at the idea, we're very active on the fire prevention front, and we're talking a lot about Firewise communities. And in fact, we were really fortunate to get a $250,000 grant from the governor's office to use to bring our neighbors together. That's amazing to get that kind of money. They gave the same amount of money to Long Beach. And, you know, it's a content-driven thing. They want neighbors to come together. In Long Beach, it's about sea level rise and climate change. Here, it's about fire resilience and fire prevention and education. But the linkage is how we connect people across our neighborhoods and across our communities. I believe in neighborhoods. Amy knows this. Neighborhoods are where things rise up. Neighborhoods are the last stop. It's where you're either going to get along with people or you're not, or you probably never are. You know, it's where we come together on a really local basis, and you find over time, again and again in local government, the voices that you hear are when we put stress on a neighborhood. We're either doing something good, or we're building something, as you know, something that's not acceptable to the community, or there's a program, or policing activity, or a homeless issue, or things that affect, it rises from the neighborhood up. It is the baseline. I talk a lot when I talk about the fire prevention part about how we're working from the top down and the bottom up. And that grant is an amazing grant. Evan McClanathan, who is here, is our risk reduction officer and heads our Office of Emergency Services and has this grant for the purpose of bringing neighborhoods together to talk about fire safety. But it's so much more than that. I could have made it about fire. I've been working fire hard for a couple of years. I worked fire hard my whole life. My first 8 years in the work world were wildland fire. Ended up fighting forest fires in Alaska from helicopters. Ended up driving fire trucks at airports. It's all, you know, there's been so much about fire in my life, but it's so different now. It is not. When I was a young man, would go to a fire, wow, if it was 10,000 acres, it was a big deal. Now we do 10,000 acres in 15 minutes. You know, the world has changed so much, and we have to be ready. So there's more to it, though, than just fire. It is how we behave together, it's how we engage each other, it's how we talk to each other, it's how we participate in the governance. So that's why we have the Year of the Neighborhood, and you're going to see and hear a lot of activities. And what I'm secondly here to talk to you about today is the role of the Planning Commission in how you support neighborhoods and the role that you play in the Year of the Neighbor. Next, please. So the purpose is to encourage all residents and stakeholders to unite and strengthen our neighborhoods to enhance public safety and quality of life. The decisions that you make frequently at the Planning Commission are focused around quality of life, but also public health and safety. You know, I break it down all the time. The reason we have local government is public health and safety. That's why we exist. And certainly you play a role in that, in the decisions that you support, the interpretations that you make, and work tirelessly to fit the development of our community with the quality of life in our community. That's a really important role that you play. Next, please. I think it's the fire one. So yes, this grant and the work and a lot of the work that's happening is around Firewise communities. Someone said to me, wow, you declared the Year of the Neighborhood. How do you know that's going to work? I mean, how do you know that this, you know, that you're not going to fail? Well, I've been around, like I said, we already had a $250,000 grant. Evan already ran 2 big neighborhood meetings, getting input on one. And so interesting that people didn't want to leave the meetings. I mean, that's the kind of meeting you want to have with your neighborhoods, where people just want to hang out. Afterwards, you're going, okay, we got to lock up the building, but you saw these connections. It's a giant web that we have to continue to weave. The organizing principle behind a lot of this is fire prevention. It is the number one issue in our community, identified by citizens when we did the strategic plan. It's really critical, so we've devoted an enormous amount of work, reorganized staff to make this a focus. And also, when the top-down part comes, building the partnerships like the governor's office to get that grant, but working with the county, who has given us tons of information at no cost to us that they had that would normally cost us a lot of money to develop, because we are partners in this. Fire doesn't care about political boundaries at all. So we got to work together. So we work inside in our community so that we're ready. We know who are the most at risk. We know where the greatest danger is. We know together how to support each other, how to get either stay or go or make these decisions, and that we're ready when fire does come, because it's not if, it is when, and what will that look like. And then the other conversation with that is the resilience, which is how fast you come back after that. So many lessons learned. When I talk about fire, talk about Greenville and Lahaina and Paradise, and I just have a really deep, abiding belief that we owe those communities to learn from what happened so we do not repeat those mistakes. It's really critical that we continue to learn and evolve and adapt, because it's not going away. The hottest July in August. I just read that. Also, there's a lot going on with insurance. I could go into big depths. We attended a meeting this week hosted by Supervisor Hall in this very room, talking about how fire insurance, and it's going to impact us all. So there is a lot of conversation about fire, but that is, and it's important, and we're going to focus on it. It's going to become a priority, but that is not at all the only thing we do. Next slide. Because the Planning Commission and what you do, and you step up, I'm just so thankful that my goal is to never have to read another EIR as long as I live. I spend my time doing that, It doesn't stop the city manager from handing me documents like this to process, but they're really great if you're an insomniac, you keep them at the bedside, just read them at night. I appreciate the work that you do. It is deeply technical, challenging, and you do it because you care about the community. It's really amazing that planning commissions how they've adapted over the years, the roles, 100 years of planning commissions. If you've been in an old city, I kind of like this city, but when I was in Salinas, where it was cobbled together from 3 big rural communities, and people said, who planned this traffic? And the answer was, well, no one. It just happened. And we see that in the town in which we live here, in Nevada City. We went through, last night, we're looking at a nuisance ordinance, which is it's going to be really interesting. But as we started looking at it, we realized that, so there are things that can't be visible from the right of way. Like trash cans. You can't put trash cans in the front yard. Well, like for me, it's like I got to drag them up a 50-foot hill if I don't do that. So how do we take this stuff and adapt it to the specific needs of our community? It's the complexity thing. Yes, we learn from other cities. Yes, we learn from other planners. But everybody has a unique need, and every city is unique in its own design and that kind of complexity. Everything is unique. So we have to get this tailored just right. You guys do an enormously good job of doing that and wrestling with it and arguing about it. Not arguing, deliberating. Yeah, that's what we do. We deliberate. But you're really good at it. You're thoughtful. You're caring. And it hasn't always been that way in this city, with the Planning Commission in particular. It hasn't been this way with the council, and it hasn't been this way with staff. It's because we made some enormous changes in how we think the administration should work. And we work from a perspective that a city administration should operate in alignment with the values of the community it serves. And that hasn't always been the case, and we're working on that. Next slide. So I'll give you some of my geek stuff. I mean, I really am a human dynamics, organizational development person. I think one of the most important things we do is figure out how we work together to get things done. And I remind people constantly that everything we do is a human endeavor. This is from the work of a really brilliant man named Parker Palmer, who was a teacher, and he wrote a lot about teaching. And he criticizes teaching for the expert model, that we hold something up that's so complex and so just so difficult to understand that we have to have an expert interpret it for us. And that, we go to the expert, we're all amateurs, the expert tells us what it is. And then we all walk away believing that we learned everything that we needed to know about this really complicated topic. This is how our institutions are designed, our learning is designed. We do it in the city. This is how the Planning Commission is designed. And there's really good reasons for doing that. But more and more and more, where we're going and what we want to see is, next slide, please, is the subject is in the middle, and every one of us has an experience of knowing something about it. I used to talk to my public works people about this. They would say, that person doesn't understand why I'm fixing their sidewalk the way I am. I said, so you're an expert on fixing that sidewalk, but that person's an expert at living on that street. You should learn what their perspective is. Everybody knows something. When you drop a project in front, you guys see it all the time when people come out of the community to tell you what they know about the project. And that really the better way of doing this is that we all equalize the expertise and understand that we all have investment, that we all see things, that the outcome matters to many of us. Sometimes it's in your neighborhood, sometimes it's in your whole city, sometimes it's not at all. But given something, the knowledge that people have, that human beings have, the innate intelligence to hear those multiple perspectives does what the expert model does not do. It informs and changes the subject because of the multiple perspectives. Sometimes it's when we start to talk about it and there's a consciousness raising process that happens where people start to share these different perspectives and suddenly you're seeing something from a place you never did. And if you're open to that and you're not a locked down ideologue, of which we have many, you will be informed in a new way on this subject. But and that's all really but next slide, please. This is how it really works. That's it. More of talking to each other and less of talking. As I like to say, we like to do it with our citizens, with our constituents, with our community, not to our community. That whenever we make a decision, we include those who are invested in the outcome, that we make sure that we're open and transparent. And this is no criticism about this not happening. I know it is happening, and it's happening everywhere. But I want to make it sort of consciously that we think about these things because this really does play into the idea of neighborhood and how we hear everybody. And you see this when you when you hear a house in a project or a project that people don't. We've seen that all the time in the Planning Commission. But how those folks come out and what we really want to do, and this is what's, we want to encourage that, not discourage that. And I will tell you from years of experience, it's not that many agencies that believe that, is that the voices matter. We have a better product. We are more in alignment with our community when we listen. And that's what I'm talking about, and that's where we're going, and that's why we're listening differently. You're going to see some things come out of the council around neighborhoods and continuing to weave that together, where we not only want to hear from neighborhoods, but we want the neighbors to hear from each other. One of the things that we're going to be doing here very soon, or I should say we, but mostly Evan does a lot of this, but we're going to bring together some of our really high-functioning Firewise communities. Rod's got one that work really well. And we're going to bring those together with people that are thinking about forming Firewise communities. So there's a real honest exchange of information and people can learn how it works. And they're not listening to us, they're listening to each other, which is the most powerful way we can do it and how we become a servant of that information. So that's what I'm here to talk about. I think I got one more. Yeah, this is really true. Margaret Mead, but it is a small committed group of citizens that make a difference, and here you are. But I think it's many small groups of citizens that make a difference that form community. Again, I thank you and for your service and honor your commitment to this work. And, you know, my secret is I'm happy to be a mayor or a council member. I would never be happy doing your job. I've done too much of it. I've done too much of it. You know, I've done too much of it. That's why I have such great appreciation for you doing this and what a great job you do. So that's what I got. Happy to hear any comments or answer any questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you draw that last graphic?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
You wouldn't still, I'm that bad. I couldn't even draw that.
I was also thinking that the second, the more preferred method is what we do as a commission. That looks like us.
It does, it does, it does. And that wasn't always the case. That is one of the transformations that has taken place in this community over the last 4 or 5 years that is very different. And I wish more of we have too many people in our community that just assume that it still works the way it used to work without ever understanding that it's really very different.
Oh, well.
We do the work. And Ann, welcome. It's great to have you and joining this pretty capable and actually very interesting group of folks. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Mayor Gary? Did I skip a step? Mayor Gary?
Just trying to get
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And now is the moment for public comment for items not on the agenda. So if you have there will be an opportunity for public comment as each agenda item comes up. So if there's anyone with a public comment for items not on the agenda at this time, please come forward. Seeing none. First is the consent calendar, and things in the consent calendar are items that are routine in nature, and all recommended actions of the staff report be approved by one motion. There's no separate discussion of the items in the consent calendar, and a member of the commission or a member of the public can request that we remove items for separate discussion. And then any item so removed will be taken up following the motion to approve the consent agenda. And so I have nothing to pull from the agenda. Anyone here? How about a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The consent calendar passes. The next item up is public hearing, 119 Grove Street demolition variance and architectural review. If you'd like to introduce that for us, and if the applicant would like to come forward.
You're back.
Hello again.
I'm back. It's been a minute.
Okay, so property owner Melody White has a request for a demolition variance and architectural review for a residential addition and remodel project on her home at 119 Grove Street. The residence was constructed in 1890, and it does show on the Sanborn maps. There was originally a larger home, and it appears that the home that Melody owns is a part of that home, and the other part of the home was likely burned down in a fire at some point in time. Current setbacks were established with adoption of the 1986 zoning code, and the way that the building sits on the lot, it currently is within the rear setback. And the side, no, it's not in the side setback, so just the rear setback. So the request for Setback variance is for an addition of 319 square feet onto the rear of the home. The house has as you probably saw in the photographs, a lean-to style kitchen, which was an addition at some point in time to the home. The lean-to is in severe disrepair. Melody states that there is not currently a foundation underneath it and that the walls appear to be sitting right on top of the dirt in many sections. So she would like to remove that and remodel the rear of the home to include an upstairs area. So the variance before you today is for the expansion of the footprint, which is basically going up and not out. So the edges of the building will remain in the same location, but the variance is required since she is encroaching in the setback in that vertical way. So the demolition is requested for the lean-to, also the siding, roof structure and materials would be replaced, and the exterior walls on the rear of the home only. The windows on the front of the home are proposed to remain the same, so it would be new windows on the addition portion only, if I understand it correctly. The siding is proposed true exterior product, which you have seen on other projects. The one that most closely matches her current style is the channel bevel composite horizontal lap siding. Also, a small balcony is proposed on the rear of the home, and the railing that is proposed is a standard black metal railing. Her paint colors on the residence will stay the same, and the addition will be painted to match the front of the home. She may wish to repaint in the future, but that's not part of this proposal. So in evaluating the project, the Planning Commission needs to make a finding of consistency between the architectural style of the existing home and what is proposed. The Planning Commission shall review each application on its own merit and in the context of the neighborhood of the project. Considerations, as usual, include volume, massing, materials, proportion, height, mass, scale, orientation, topography, and site coverage. I will note that the new addition to the upstairs of the rear of the home is proposed to be a double gable, and that would be a 6 and 12 roof pitch, which you can see on the plans in your staff report. Melody, if you'd like to add anything I may have missed.
I guess only that what I'm striving to do is the front portion of the home is 1890s. I'm trying not to touch that as much as possible. I'm trying to keep the windows that are damaged on the 1890s side of it. I'm going to try, there's a few people I've spoke to restore a few of the windows. The glass is that great bubble glass. It's, you know, I want to leave it. I don't want to touch it. That back lean-to kitchen area was built in the 1920s. And like a lot of them, it's melting into the ground. And the front portion of the home as well, because of the way that the water has been coming down that hill for the last 150 years, it's starting to go under the house, around the house. And so even the 1890s front portion of the house, one half of it is on the dirt. And the other half of it, because it pushed everything underneath it. And then the other part where the previous owners had wanted, they had dug out some of it to do some repairs for the heating, but then it's just dirt. So in that front portion of the home, what I need to do, and the reason the demo needs to come first on the back, is the front portion of the home needs a foundation repair. And the back portion of the home, where the lean-to kitchen is, that needs to be completely rebuilt because it's all melting. It's all like going down. Every time I go into the house, it's like, oh man, it's just a little more, it's a little more, it's a little more. So what I'm trying to do is kind of save it really. And as far as the siding and the windows, none of the windows match right now. The previous owner had put, and I have a couple pictures of just the windows, just to make it a little bit more clear, like on each side if you guys needed it. I'm sorry I didn't get it to you soon enough, but it's been a little crazy. I live in Los Angeles part of the time and up here part of the time. And I was born and raised up here, so I've been walking past this house like forever. So now that I can finally play with it, it's been hard because I don't want to do a bunch of modern stuff to it. I really don't. And I want to try and keep the inside, especially the 1890s part of it, right where it's at. And it's a little hard because of the shiplap on the inside of that. For the gables that I'm trying to do, I might have to mess with that. And it kind of breaks my heart, but I understand that, like, with the roof lines that we've been discussing, and so, I mean, it's very particular for that spot. So if I could get just to where you can get that one level above that kitchen area, the entire house will be able to, like, have that really beautiful 1890s side, and then you have that, like, great kitchen area, and then you still have, like, space so an actual modern family can live there. The outside of it can still look beautiful, and everything inside with the character can stay. But over the years, I can tell, I mean, even the previous owner, when I had looked at what he had brought forward for you guys, what he was proposing to do was really expansive. And I'm still surprised that it got okayed. I was like, damn, okay. I mean, literally lifting up the house, moving it forward, digging a basement, gutting the entire house, moving the historic staircase to the other side of the house. It was a lot. When I first bought it and they presented those plans to me, I was like, why would you do? I don't understand, but everybody's got their opinion. Everybody's got their own thing they want to do. But from what I'm trying to do is trying to put as much like of the historical bits and pieces back into it, but still making it to where the windows, you know, I mean, the old windows, I love them, but in the wintertime, I mean, the curtains move. It's kind of funny. And with the windows they did put in, none of them match. They're all falling apart. They're all like old vinyl ones. There's some historic windows in the back I am gonna try and repair, but I don't know. A lot of this stuff you don't know until you really start getting into it, what you can save and what you can't. But, and as far as all of the siding that's going on it, Lisa was helping me pick out like kind of what works for you guys. One of the other reasons why I really want that type of siding too is I'm absolutely terrified of like something burning down. I'm like, the work that I've done just with this house is I've been trying to get a lot of the trees that were right up against it that should have been there. I've been removing all of that, just trying to make it so it's not as much of a tinderbox. Because right now that's exactly what it is with all of that siding and everything. And I do want to keep as much as possible, but I mean, I do understand there's a lot of give and take. I don't want it, you know. And also, the main thing I really am trying to do is make this as cost effective as possible. This is just me. I mean, this is just me. Like, I mean, this is just me paying for everything and doing it. So it's a little scary, but I mean, I'm too stubborn to stop now, so. But yeah, that's it. And and as far as like the railing and the balcony in the back, those pieces that I chose and I presented to you, it's kind of a little bit of a placeholder. I have access to a couple architectural salvages down in Los Angeles and in the area. And the places that I've been going, it's kind of funny because a lot of the stuff that they have comes from up here. So I've been down there, I've collected a lot of things that like are gonna go back into this house that's actually from this area that I was able to get. If you wanna see the original bar that goes to the National, it's at the Autry Museum. So that's, you know, there's a lot of the National stuff that's at the Autry, but I don't think they could get it back. And it's really cool, but I'm trying, you know?
Thank you. Any questions for for the applicant or staff? Beginning with you, Peter?
This is complete, and thank you for the background.
Surprisingly, I have a couple. Is there an approved plan you referred to, or
There-
was there an architectural review approval from a previous owner?
I looked in the file and I did find some plans. I can't remember off the top of my head if they were approved or not, but I
They were.
definitely saw
His name
some
was
plans.
Tobias Cole. I have it. If you, I mean, they approved it.
Yeah, and from what I talked to Melody about, it was a much more aggressive. It was kind of like picking up the house and moving it closer.
Yeah, sounds like
And
it.
building
Digging a
a
basement
basement
and-
underneath, so it would be a 3-story building. But their proposal was, I think, consistent with keeping the architecture on the front of the house, so.
And have you verified that repairing the foundation under the front part of the house is going to be doable, that it's feasible?
Yeah.
Without having to do any further, like, architectural review, you'll be able to?
I really don't, because what,
So you've talked to a foundation
I've
contractor?
talked to a couple foundation guys and, in the area, and one of the things that, I am gonna have to sacrifice are the original floors on the inside. They're pretty, I mean, they're kind of beat up anyway, but to make it, way more easier to do, way more cost-effective, and to protect the historic windows. Because there's no guarantee, they would have to lift that house up like 6 feet. And with lifting that, there is no guarantee that the rest of these windows are gonna crack.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of making a little sacrifice with the floors, so they can go through the floor and do it that way on the 1890 side, so it's not doing this. Because once the lean-to kitchen is removed off the back of it, the front, that back part of the house is gonna need to be sheared and stabilized. And then, to make sure everything's okay with that, so they can do a proper foundation for the kitchen in the back, and that'll sustain a 2-story, and to repair everything in the front. And my goal is to make it to where, when you look at this house, the only thing it looks like it has is a paint job. I mean, it's gonna look the same.
I was just asking
better.
see what the possibility of needing to come back,
I
more demolition
would
stuff. So
hope that I
hopefully-
wouldn't have to.
Yeah, and
I mean-
and if you do, it's not a big deal.
I just part of this is because there is such a weird weather window that I have to stay in between. And that, kind of the waiting period with that between the weather and getting everything approved and stuff. If I can do as much as possible without coming back and, sucking up more time from everybody else, and you guys know exactly what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything
Right.
weird with it, I mean, other than just trying to make it so it's not melting anymore.
And then the upstairs front windows, those look, from the photos anyway, like vinyl clad sliders, like modern replacements.
Oh, in the very front of
Yeah,
the?
on the second story.
Oh, yeah, they're weird vinyl, and they don't match, yeah. I mean, they work well. I mean, those are the windows that the wind doesn't come through.
Right, right. I mean, we couldn't ask you to replace those, of course, but, whatever you could.
If you wanted to.
Yeah, I was gonna
You
say, I
certainly-
mean,
You certainly could if you
eventually-
wanted to make your house look
Honestly, it's
more
like the back part of the
historic.
house, it's I want the windows to be on there first, and
Understood.
then I'll replace those hoopty ugly ones on the sides. I'll get to it,
And-
but,
And what is I haven't been past the site recently, so I'm not sure. Your proposed addition, what is the visibility of the sides
Oh,
from the street?
you can't see it. Honestly, the part of the house where the lean-to is,
Mm-hmm.
you can't even really see that. None of it's really visible.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, just wanted to verify.
Yeah, and
that.
even my neighbors, because the neighbor directly behind me, there's a bunch of trees, and then this hill, then it flats out, and then their house is back there. So even the neighbor that's directly behind me doesn't even see me.
It's a funky little lot.
Yeah, it's a weird little, I keep telling everybody, I'm like, it's kind of like an upside-down Nevada. Like it's kind of got that weird thing.
For the
going to
lot
it.
shape?
Yeah, I'm like, it's kind of this weird thing.
You said the neighbor behind you can't really, that was my big question, was
No,
like,
it's-
does their quality of
and they're
life
all-
go down
it's-
with the balcony or anything?
I don't know how I lucked out, but between the neighbors on either side of me, the neighbor behind me, and across the street are the coolest people. I mean, they're all just like, oh, if you need anything, oh, if you want us to like write a letter or something. And I'm like, I think it's, because it's so sweet. I had one of my neighbors from my shed wrote a letter, and they're lovely. And I'm just like, yeah, well, I think it's kind of like, you almost write a letter if you don't want things to happen. And they're like, well, no news is good news kind of thing.
Any other commission questions? So at this point, is there any public comment on the proposal before us? Seemingly not. Any commission discussion now?
I would just like to say, my mom's a realtor and we like to go look at houses together, and I've been in this house.
Oh, yeah.
And fully appreciate what you're dealing with here. And I love the fact that you're trying to keep as much original as possible. And always love it when we have a homeowner who's trying to restore a house, and
Yeah, it's kind
just
of.
thank you. You've got a big project in front of you, and we all appreciate that, I think.
I think from growing up here too, part of my job that I do, I'm a hairstylist. And one of the things I work on is I work on a lot of historical things. And I think it's kind of partially from growing up here, because you're always learning about like things that, you have to learn about everything, in this area when you're a kid. So I've always been like, oh, I'm always reproducing Victorian stuff. I'm always reproducing like everything. And part of it's like from all the stuff that, doing everybody's hair for like Victorian Christmas and all this kind of fun stuff. So a lot of this kind of comes from that. And so I get hired on a lot of shows and everything, and that's because that's what I do. It's all like historical stuff. So it's kind of funny when I was telling my friends, and my mom's best friend is Diane Helms, a realtor in the area, and she's just like, are you sure? Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'm sure. She's like, are you sure? So I'm stubborn, so I'm going to do it.
I was just really intrigued by the hidden bookshelf door, but that's for another time. I'm actually from Los Angeles, grew up in Long Beach, and
Oh, okay, that's where I was born.
I feel like I went to the Autry Museum in 4th grade or something, so
Did
it's
you see-
funny.
yeah, the bar's
I
there.
probably did and didn't care, but now I would like to go back as an adult when I care about things more, but.
I think they have the
yeah.
poker chips too, and then there's something else. There was something else there, and I'm just like, how come the bar's not in? Oh.
That's who knew I would be in the building one day. But yeah, I appreciate this too. I think that's not your dream kitchen, and maybe we should
No,
update.
but I bet in the 1920s that was top of
Awesome.
the line.
Yeah.
Top of the line.
I like that you're trying to use what you can for
I mean, it is the
also
most
sustainable-
cost-effective way. I mean,
Totally.
I don't want to put like weird windows and stuff on there if I can repair those. My cousin, he's a window person, so I'm trying to like hook onto all my family members. My brother and my nephew were building that bridge over there, and I was talking to Lisa, and I'm like, can I have a piece of the bridge? Can I? And she's like, no, it's all spoken for. I'm like, all right, fine.
The railing.
Year of the neighborhood,
Yes.
community. I like it.
Well, does anyone have a motion?
I have a question about a motion.
Okay.
Can we make a motion to approve A through D without doing them all individually and reading them all in? We don't have Russ with us, do we?
We do have Russ with us. Russell, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. He said we could do that.
Yes, I can, and yes, you can. Make such a motion.
I will make a motion that we approve the recommended findings A through D, including all the subsets.
Second.
How about a roll call?
Commissioner Shisko?
I say yes or I approve?
Yes.
Yes, is
Yes.
customary.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden?
Yes.
And Chair Knight?
Yes,
Congratulations.
Great.
Awesome.
that's
Thank
the
you
whole
very
shebang,
much. I
right? Yeah.
appreciate it.
Best of luck
Thanks
with
for
it.
your help. This is
Yeah,
great.
good luck.
Right, and if you have any questions, if anything changes, speak to Lisa and
Yeah, I think my only question too is like, if, well, when, I'm not even gonna say if, because I know I'm gonna find it. When it comes to like that balcony or like railing or things like that, when I do find something that, is the right size that I can use, do I photograph it and just kind of send it to you and say, hey, I wanna use this instead of
We
this?
could
Or-
assign a liaison.
We could assign a
let's do that.
liaison.
Would you be willing, Amy, to be the liaison?
Happy to.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
I-
you'll
that
just
way I
reach
don't
out
have
to me
to.
and I can make a judgment.
A lot of times how it happens is, you know, you find something and it might need a little bit of work on it.
Yeah,
And
we'll
then you
cross
have
that
to
bridge
like
when
balance out if it's cost effective. And then it's like, okay, so then that way I just didn't know that if how this works, I have to bring like, okay, these are all these things I found, now I'm changing what I presented to you, so.
If anything that you've presented here changes materially, if you'd like to change it, then you reach out to Lisa.
Oh, okay.
Lisa reaches out to Amy, and if it's not a really drastic change, if it's just a detail or two, then Amy can determine whether or not it's in the spirit of our understanding of your presentation.
Okay, great, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Same to you. Item 7 now, 254 Boulder Street, demolition of a second residence. Hello again.
Yes, I remember I was here a couple years ago for the solar panel.
Yes.
It's working amazing. Oh my God, it's the best thing we did.
You get a battery too, right? Did you get a battery?
Yes, we have 2 wall battery, 2 inverter, and we have a full electrical car, and we haven't paid any fuel charges. We've been just using the sun energy to charge our car.
That's beautiful.
Thank you for proving that, and it's really exciting.
Would you like to introduce the item for us now?
Sure. So property owner Charlotte Duar is requesting demolition of a second structure on her property. The structure was originally constructed as a garage, and the assessor's office has record of it as a garage, and then a few years later as an apartment above the garage. The primary residence on the property is on the National Registry. There's also a detached accessory building that was previously a barn that has been fully restored. I should note that the residence has been fully restored as well. A shed on the property was replaced in 2020, and I believe that came through the Planning Commission. So the removal of the existing second residence is requested in its entirety. Charlotte does plan to retain the interior wood beams for use on a future project. And Duar intends to submit an application in the near future for a new residential unit, which will likely have a smaller footprint. So for the demolition consideration, there's a few things. Since the property, we believe the property was built in the 1950s. And so the findings that you'll need to make are either that the structure does not hold special historical interest or value, and that the structure is not an example of mother-lode architecture. Or your finding could be that the structure is so dilapidated that it cannot be reasonably repaired or restored. So the photos that Charlotte provided show the condition of the building. The drywall is definitely moldy and falling in. The siding is in disrepair, cracking, and in pretty bad shape.
Can you
There's-
show the photos, by the way, on the
Yeah,
on the
of
screen?
course.
We don't have them in the report.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was gonna be my first question.
Okay, let me pull them up. I want to see it.
It'd be nice to see the visuals as we hear the description.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that.
That's all right. Sorry we don't have any hold music.
Yeah, we need
Be
hold
nice.
music.
Anybody sing?
Yeah, I took the pictures very recently and sent it to Lisa, so I have some from the street view, from the garden view, from the driveway view, and from the interior. So you should have at least 20 pictures. Okay, there you go.
So here's looking at the structure from the front. There are trees here, so the photographer is standing in front of the trees, but from the street, you really don't see this view, you see the trees. And you can see what Charlotte calls the marsh house on the right over here. This is the
From the
view.
driveway.
Yeah, from the driveway looking, so these are the garage bays here. And apparently this tree, which I just issued a tree removal permit for, is pulling the building around and disrupting the foundation and like buckling the siding. So another view of the front. Same view of that tree and the side. This is from the yard.
This is from the west to look at the building from the garden.
This is more of what the street view looks like. I think there might be a few more
There are
trees.
3 trees there in front.
And then this is the restored building, which she calls the barn. And the other residence is butting right up to it, which is creating a fire hazard.
There's 3 garage. And
This
that's
is-
from the south angle, garage facing the south.
So here's what the insurance company is really unhappy about.
Yeah, I lost insurance completely because of that building.
Yeah.
They said it's a bomb you put in middle of 2 beautiful buildings. So it's pretty
That's so
hazardous.
creative, though.
It's like someone didn't measure.
Yeah, so start here is the interior pictures of the upstairs, living, kitchen.
Oh, my.
You do?
It wasn't like that.
And then this is the bathroom.
Bathroom, yeah. Lots of black mold. It's the kitchen area. Everything was falling, caved in.
And that's the last one.
Plenty.
Seems like a sufficient amount. And did you have more to add from your staff report? I interrupted you quick in the midstream there.
Nope, that was all.
Any questions from the commission regarding this demolition?
No.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, first of all, we bought the property with 3 buildings on it exactly 25 years ago. And we did complete restoration for the main marsh house, the front one. And that was done almost for 20 years. And then the barn, historic barn, we restored it as an exercise room, yoga, tea room. That's completely done. And the idea was always to restore this as the last one. So for 25 years, we use this as a 2-car garage parking only. We've never done anything with it, just hoping, we'll either restore or take it down depending on the condition. So Lisa, one thing is, after we demolish it, all I plan to do now is not to build a secondary residence, only a 3-car garage, because that's all we need, is to have a garage, a smaller scale, probably at least 2/3 less than the floor print, this one. So you see that the eave poking into the building, that won't be an issue because insurance won't like that. So it'll be a new garage that's going to be designed hopefully in the carriage style, similar to the garage in our in our community. But that is going to be designed soon. So the first thing is we have to demolish it because the foundation is coming up because of that tree. The walls has been kind of waving because of the rain damage from the roof, and the roof has been just caving in. So it's just beyond repair and beyond salvage. So that's why I'm hoping first step is to take it down, then build a 3-car garage in the existing place.
Yeah, I had written the staff report before that decision
Right,
had been
right.
made, so yeah.
Okay, any public comments on this demolition proposal? Seeing none. Any commission discussion?
No.
I do have a discussion.
Okay.
But, clearly this is, beyond repair, and the proximity of this building to the main house is very problematic. And I don't see a problem approving this from my perspective. That said, just for the general public's information, if this were a house in a different location that were in somewhat better condition, not impinging upon the main house, not having a tree, et cetera, I think we'd probably spend more time with it and consider, although this is 1950s, we look at the value of everything, in context. So more just to say that, for folks who are listening, that this shouldn't be construed as necessarily other similar buildings that are in a better location wouldn't get more scrutiny. So.
Well said. It's a charming building, although there are various architectural styles represented from the.
Yeah.
It looked like from the 30s. There's some 20s-y looking details, but who knows of the provenance of that? But it's in a terribly problematic location, and it wouldn't be hard to find the third finding that the structure is so dilapidated it certainly cannot be reasonably repaired or restored. But more importantly is its very unfortunate location, proximity
Yes.
to your existing building.
It's been just an eyesore for 25 years. After, no matter what we've done for the 2 beautiful homes, a beautiful building, coming home and look at this and park the car under it, it's like, oh my God, when this is going to fall over us. And then the new garage, because of the consideration of the position, it's so close to the 2 buildings, the new garage would be definitely shranked. So it'll be away from the Marsh House and away from the barn. So it'll be a beautiful garage that's been practical, but I think I want to design it in a simple but elegant way that fits right in the middle instead of what it is now. It's just so impossible to visualize it'll be there for the rest of my life. So it's time to really do something.
And we look forward to seeing that proposal when it
Yes,
arrives.
yes. I already met with the architect. Yeah, we have some exciting plan that we will show to Lisa, and then I'll come back.
My comment, to me, it looks very much like my own home,
Oh.
which allegedly was built pre-1900. And I echo what my fellow commissioners have said completely. My wish would be that anything, especially the exterior wood, any of the wood, is salvaged. And I wonder, if that's just a different kind of conversation, but we have so many applicants who come through here who are hoping to reside their houses or restore older houses, and there's something that is so precious and so important about these older timbers. The quality of the wood is impossible to find.
Right.
Now
So we
it's-
have the plan with our contractor. We talked with him and showed him the wood. He said the beam inside, they look like Douglas fir
Yeah.
or cedar. Either way, they're nice, thick. So we totally intend to salvage them and save them in the new construction wherever we can apply.
And I would also encourage if there's anything on the outside that's worth saving to do so. There's plenty of need for it locally.
Yeah,
Those, yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
So, could be time for a motion.
I will move that we approve the recommended demolition as conditioned by bullets A through C in the agenda.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Shisko?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden?
Yes.
And Chair Knight?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Best of luck.
Yeah.
Thank
Look forward to
you.
seeing you.
I look forward to seeing you in a couple months when we have the new plan for the
Excellent.
garage.
Okay, great.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
taking this on.
Thank you so much.
It's a big deal.
Thank you. Okay.
Item 8 is up next, under Architectural Review 107 Mill Street, a repaint in the Historic District. Do we have an applicant present?
They are both online.
They're both on Zoom. Zachary, are you with us?
I am here.
Kyle, if you can turn up the volume a little bit, that'd be helpful. Okay, I'll go ahead and introduce your project. So Zachary and Jessamine Witt are property owners at, Mill Street, 107 Mill Street. And the request is for a repaint on a home that was constructed in 1898. The home is shown on the Sanborn map in substantially the same location as how it sits today. The home is in the historic district, but it's not on the the National Registry as a contributing building. I will note that in December of 2022, the owners received approval to renovate the front of the main house and raise the existing railing and concrete porch. And then earlier in 2022, a remodel of the interior was completed as well. So the proposal before you today includes a new color palette. The proposed colors are all Benjamin Moore colors and include vintage Vogue for the siding body, black ink for the trim and porch railing, and carriage red for the doors and planters. And that would also be for the gutters. The windows are currently a deep red color and are proposed to remain the same. So the windows and the gutters are currently that red, and that would remain along with adding red to the front door and porch railing. In your staff report, there's a really good rendering of the proposed new look. So your finding would need to be that the exterior alterations are compatible within the context of the surrounding neighborhood, and that the proposed exterior alterations are generally compatible with Mother Lode style architecture within the historic district. Zach, is there anything that I may have missed that you'd like to add?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I'll just add that the interior renovation was somewhat inspired by the new National Hotel, and so we were going for something a little bit more moody with this repaint, just to add more character to it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission of the applicant? Peter?
No, I'm good.
Okay, any public comments on this proposed repaint? Apparently not. Any commission discussion? We'll start with Peter.
I'll only note that the compatibility with one of the neighbors is the Methodist church across the street, so just threw that in, it doesn't apply, so.
Nothing for me.
I'll say the work that you did, it's funny talking to a disembodied voice, but the work you did previously was beautiful and the detailing is wonderful. Obviously, you have excellent taste. I'll say that considering compatibility with the neighborhood and in the historic district and consistency with the architectural style includes, I mean, within our area of concern, are among other things, the determination of whether a building conforms with, this is from the Historical District Ordinance 1768-30 definitions, whether a building conforms with mother lode architecture includes all factors which affect the external appearance of the building, including architectural elevations, building materials, colors, finish, lighting, ornamental devices, and signs. And personally, I like this color scheme, and the red accent helps a lot. But a gray body, essentially gray, with black trim is a very current design statement, and within the historic district, I don't feel that that this color scheme is consistent with mother lode style architecture when we extend that definition to include colors, which is in the ordinance, the historical district ordinance. So I'm not in favor of the gray with black gesture, which we see a lot. It's a very current style, which is sort of the opposite of historic preservation. So those are my comments.
Is it gray or green? It's green.
It is more of a green, yeah. We tried to stay away from gray specifically so that it wasn't so modern. The black trim is pretty similar to what we see on the National. I also, noticed that the older color of the National pre-renovation was also a deep green, so that's kind of where we're going for.
Okay, the swatch reads as gray. Green helps. The red, as I said, also helps. Though I have concerns about the moody aesthetic that is pervading architectural fashion. So those are my comments.
Yeah, sometimes the renderings are a little hard. Benjamin Ward did this rendering for us, and they cautioned that the colors can look very different depending on the lighting. So we have actual color swatches that we looked at in sunlight, and it looks a lot more green than what we see here. So we're hoping that comes out more.
I don't know if it's helpful, but I guess along with Rod as well, see green when I look at it, and what I see is reminiscent to me of something like Angels Camp or like these Sierra foothill bungalows from the 40s, 30s, and maybe before. And I think it looks lovely. I really like the choices. I don't see it as gray, I see it as green.
Okay.
You know, my first thought when I saw this was it looks modern too. I felt like it's like more trendy than so I researched it, and green is more historical than I was like, oh, I learned something. I can't speak to the black trim. I mean, I don't know if that's but I do like the way that it just kind of melts a little bit into the environment, and I like how you're keeping the red, and I do think it is weird speaking to a disembodied voice. That is weird. But I do think I haven't been on the planning commission more than today, but I do think it goes along with things that are in the community that have obviously been approved. So if I'm using that as my baseline, then it looks like it fits in with what has been the aesthetic that has been approved. And if I can do that kind of objectively, yeah, that's where I am.
I will note, and I think.
Could be wrong,
I think,
yes.
No, I think
Oh.
Russell Hildebrand can back this up, though it's understandable that perception would pervade, but each land use decision that this body makes is an individual decision based on its own
True.
context. So in a way, though, the perception might be that a precedent has been set by one or another approval. It's not at all binding for us to, because each individual circumstance has its own set of considerations.
Ooh,
So,
okay, that's fair. Yeah.
and it's especially, yeah, I'll stop there.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know what other trim color wouldn't stick out more. You know what I mean? Like it looks, I know it's not about what I like, but
I would like to add that in the context of the neighborhood, there's the one-room inn. Is it the one-room or the two-room?
It's two-room.
Two-room.
Two-room,
Yeah, on the corner.
Which I think is fitting along with this color scheme in that it's like this beautiful, it's natural wood, right? Am
Yes.
I imagining this?
Nope, you got it.
And I think that, I like what Anne said about it blending into the environment. I think that it would go very nicely with that building in particular. I also hear you, Peter, that there's a white gray church across the street. Colors I'm not crazy about, but which are also historically appropriate. And I don't think that we're going to find a perfect, maybe we could find a perfect mesh, but I'll just stop and say I like this.
I don't think it is historically inappropriate. If you look at examples of other Victorian colors, some of them were, very dark, maybe even moody. I think that was, part of the era as well. So I find it to be, compatible with the motherlode style that we're looking at, so.
And I'll say to the applicant, I like these colors personally. I like them, and that's not my business to weigh in on what I like or don't. And I see our job as preserving the historic character of the city, and the red helps a lot. And the fact that it's green, it's greener. Lisa brought up a picture from the Benjamin Moore website that shows the color better than both the rendering and the color. Certainly the color swatch looks like gray to me. So I'll stop there.
Can you make a motion to approve?
You can make a motion of whatever you'd like to. Make a motion to be.
I would like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Shisco.
yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden.
Yes.
Chair Zine.
No.
Okay. Motion carried.
You're in business, sir.
Thank you, everybody, and sorry for the disembodied voice. I There's an option for video.
At least, you've attended though, which is,
Since we've been doing
No.
this, so, yeah.
no,
Disclaimer,
Thank
this
you
is
for-
not a recording.
right, thank you for joining us. Next up, item 9, 235 Commercial Street, repaint in the Historic District.
Chair Nye, I was hoping to rearrange the agenda a little bit and allow, oh, welcome, come on up. Allow David to do his repaint application and his sign application at the same time, if that's okay?
That sounds fine to me, yeah.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
Okay, so this is David Ingbar. He's the business manager of the Fern. And before you today is, like I just mentioned, a request for a repaint and also a sign. We'll get to the sign in a moment. So the repaint is the wall that is on the side yard in the patio area. And the I'm sure you saw in your staff report the history of the building. The building was included on the application for the National Register of Historic Places in 1985 as a non-contributing building. Apparently, the front of the building was redone in 1978, and it doesn't maintain its original architectural integrity. So the proposal is for the walls in the patio area to be repainted to a Yorktown green. The color is from the Benjamin Moore Historic Palette, and the color of the current walls is that sort of like dark rusty reddish orange. And that's it for the repaint.
I wonder if you could do, I wonder if you could do us the service of finding Yorktown Green and putting up on the.
Of course.
Because apparently my inferior Apple computer screen makes all the greens look gray.
No, for what it's worth, this also looks great to me.
I also have color chips. This is the real color.
Oh, even better.
Okay. There's 5 of them,
It's like a
so we can take
bluish
it home.
Yeah, you can take it home. Feel free.
Your instructions on your website were very clear.
And then
Okay.
that was green, and it was just a constant argument.
I'll just hang on to this and gaze at it. Would you like to add anything to Lisa's presentation?
Just a little bit about myself. I am a professional archaeologist. That's my day job. I work in environmental compliance, so I'm pretty familiar with the laws and regulations that we're working under. I'm a second-generation archaeologist, so historic preservation is the family business. So I'm not trying to ruin anything in this very, very lovely town.
You didn't tell me
There's
that.
just a bright red, obnoxious wall on the side of a bar that is now called the Fern. And we just want to tone it down a little bit. It's only partially visible from the street through the wrought iron gate that's outside of like our little patio area. And as far as the sign application goes, which we'll get to in a moment, my now business partners hung that before I was involved, and without permission, for which I apologize, it will not happen again. That's about all I had to add.
That's
Thank you.
nice to hear.
Thank you. I don't think we would accuse anyone of trying to ruin things. Any questions from the commission? No. Public comments? Seeing none. Discussion?
Looks great.
It's a go for me.
Nice, my comment would be a nice combination, the brick front and this color. I would describe it as moody, which may be appropriate for the environment and in combination with the brick. I think it's
And
really
thank
cool.
you for the chips. That
Yeah,
helps.
appreciate it.
Oh, no worries, yeah, and all compliments on the color and the decor on the interior go to our bar manager and one of the partners there, Jacqueline Jenkins. That's all her. I just do what she tells me.
Well done, sir.
Yeah.
Anything?
I've spent time in that bar performing as it's been Cooper's, I appreciate what's been done, and I like how this kind of camouflages that, I don't know, that courtyard a little bit more, and it's just I think it's great. Yeah,
Thank you.
I appreciate it all the changes.
So entertaining a motion, if any.
Motion to approve. Beat you.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please. Donna?
Commissioner Cisco?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cubden?
Yes.
Chair Knight?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Sign.
Right. So you'll scroll down a little bit past the Rivers repaint and find the sign for the Fern.
This is red, but this looks gray.
So the Fern sign, as David mentioned, is already hanging. So the photo in your staff report is the sign that was hung. The size is 4 feet by 2 feet, so 8 square feet on each side. There's cottage red is the background color with Stuart gold lettering and accents. I'll pass these around. And the graphics are fern leaves around the perimeter and on either side of the name. I will note that the lettering style is a customized calligraphy. It's not a font that you would find a name for. And again, the colors are cottage red and Stuart gold.
Maybe the spares back.
Anything to add to the?
No, I mean, I think it's a painted wooden sign that you saw them all over the American West. That's pretty much is what it is.
There's one hanging like it right in front of the Fern too, which is cool. Any other questions? Public comment? Seemingly not. Commission discussion of the sign?
I like it better now that the courtyard is not going to be red too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is nice.
I have nothing to add. I'd like to make a motion to approve the sign as presented.
I'll second it for my first time ever.
All right. First, second.
First, second.
Commissioner Cisco?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cubden?
Yes.
Chair Knight?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks for coming in person.
Spare, are these useful for you?
I'll take my guess.
They could be useful. Just- Thank you.
Thanks, David. Take care.
Bye.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Ew.
Architectural review for repaint in the Historic District for the River, 232 Commercial Street.
Tom, you're gonna have a problem with this. Say why, because it says Knoxville gray, but it's actually not, it's blue green.
It's the theme today.
Yeah.
Only we didn't get the memo.
Okay, do you want me to introduce this item, Chair Nye?
Shall we start with architectural review and then move to the sign? Yeah.
I think so. So the architectural review application is for a repaint with a color change in the historic district. I think we're all familiar with this building at 232 Commercial Street. It's next door to the Crazy Horse Saloon. The building is shown on the Sanborn maps, the 1898 Sanborn map. And it was included in the National Register of Historic Places as a contributing building. There's a description of what was written for that when it was written in 1985. There's been a few other permits over the years, not very many. And the proposed colors, I do have a chip for you that I'll pass around. So the body of the building is proposed to be Knoxville gray, which is described online as an alluring blue-green with a heavy dose of gray. The trim is proposed to be black, just standard black from the Benjamin Moore Historic Palette. And then the accents are proposed to be iridescent gold, which is a modern master's color. The rendering that's included in your staff report shows the proposal quite clearly. The gold is proposed around the windows, on both the door and all the windows. And then a detail on the balcony, a thin stripe, and then also on the gable end vent at the top of the building. And then black would be around the windows. I'll go ahead and share my screen here to show one other thing. So here is a sample where Jimmy actually already put the paint on the building so you can see the color combo. So this is the Knoxville green with the black and the gold. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just on the one that shows the entire building, it's not that much gold. The actual trim pieces are between 3/4, 7/8 of an inch wide. So when I did it on Photoshop, it's not going to be that bright. It's more like what it looks like at Hartwood. It's just a small accent.
Did you say 3/4 of an inch?
3/4 to 7/8. What they did is these were the boards when they glazed the windows. That's what they put to glaze the windows. So I just wanted to accent those, not the whole casing. The casing would not be that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
So would it go in the middle, like on the, like here, see where my mouse is? Would there be a line down the middle of that?
Actually, when I walked over here, I looked. I don't think so. I think it's just around the outside. Yeah.
Okay.
Christine did that, so it's not going to be. It's just a small little accent around them. Yeah.
Like where the glazing putty would go, or where the glazing putty does go to hold
Kind
up.
of. What they did is they put glazing putty, and then they actually put a little trim board. And they-
Over the top of the glaze.
over the top of it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you can see it there. By the way, thank you for the planner. That's from the city.
Good to see the news.
Yeah.
Any questions from the commission?
I do have a question. Will the gold sort of become an antique color, or will it stay this iridescent? Do you know?
So at Hartwood, they put it on, he said, 7 years ago. And over time, he said, it's changed a little bit, not a lot, you know? And so what we do is, yeah, I don't know
I
what
haven't
that
paid
means.
attention over there.
Yeah.
To think now, yeah.
There is a photo here.
I guess it's good that it
On the left.
means that it doesn't stand
It didn't
out
jump
to you.
out
It's
at me,
not
yeah,
tricky.
yeah.
The photo on the left is Hartwood.
Oh, right, yeah,
And
good
that's,
point.
he put it on, Tony said he put it on 7 years ago, so it's,
Looks good.
yeah.
That's my only question.
Anyone here for a public comment? Apparently not. Need to go through the format,
We
you
know how
know.
to clear out a room, don't we?
Yeah.
By the way, I forgot I did have a public comment about the fern. I think it's going to be great because on my balcony, I see that red, so I'm really glad you guys approved it. It's going to look a lot better. I love it, yeah. Sorry.
Thanks for your public comment.
A little out of order.
I know, sorry.
You're-
Amy, I think
Shall
the
we-
light might be
Oh, is it?
on. Yeah.
How long has it been off?
I don't know.
Missed all those.
I could have
pearls
gotten
of
away with
wisdom.
so much more at this minute.
Oh, gosh. Commission discussion.
Actually, I think this color looks very, very similar to the chip that we just
Yeah,
approved.
you can put them next to each other.
Yeah.
They are, the chip we
Across
just
the
approved
street.
is certainly darker and more teal
Yeah,
to
this
me.
looks a little bit lighter than the one we just approved.
Which might be a good thing.
Yeah.
Lighter
they're
would be
both
better
fine.
for this.
Discussion starting from
Why don't we start over there?
Okay.
See, I'll have less to say.
Question.
Maybe.
So I was trying to do some research, but I don't know, like, I've been seeing so much gold around, but was gold a super historical, or is it just like cute because the gold rush, or like, is it, I've just been seeing more and more gold around town, but I wasn't able to kind of ascertain whether, like, yes, I know that like metallic paints existed in different formats over the, back in that time, but did people ever paint their, that seems so luxurious during that, like you wouldn't waste that on, I don't know. Does it matter? I'm trying to go with your thought from the last one, which is just because it's been approved, this is a different, does it mean that it needs to continue to be?
And I can't answer your rhetorical question.
Yeah, I was like, they existed, but, yeah.
Hold that question.
And I did feel like it looked like a lot of gold, but you said that right away, so, yeah, it seems like it'll be, and the light won't all be on it all at the same, from the same direction. Like this, it's like
Yeah.
all lit up, it
Glowing,
would probably look really nice. I don't know. I went way down.
Shall we move down the
Yeah,
line and
sure.
we can come back to you if you have
I
anything
just
to add?
wanted to know if anybody knew that.
I think that this is an improvement. I think that I'm really excited to see these buildings being taken care of because they have been neglected. Black wouldn't be my preferred trim choice here, but it's within, it certainly fits in with downtown at the moment. So I'm a bit ambivalent here. I would just say anything that can highlight that amazing light fixture that you have is great.
I'll start by saying, I've visited you in process, and
Yeah.
the artistry that you have brought to the interior and the attention to details, is really, really something. And
Thank you.
And I think we're all just waiting to
Me too.
get in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand, of course, that you would like to bring that level of creativity to the exterior of the building as well. And the gray body color, which is greenish, and it's actually even
That's what I find just
even
black
preferable or to it's lighter and it's more, I think, in the context of the area. I'll also say, this building needs some love on the exterior, and
Yeah.
and nobody's not happy that you're doing this project.
Yeah.
So anything I say, please don't take as general negativity. The black trim is a really strong statement in relation to the context of the neighboring buildings. It's your proposal would be very different from the neighboring buildings, and part of, especially Commercial Street, it has a real historic feel to it. I mean, and partly due to the age of the woodwork, which is beautiful and also, presents a practical problem, rot and whatnot. I think the black trim calls a lot of attention to your building, perhaps drawing focus or interrupting the historic context from the general neighborhood. Across the street, the gold detail at Heartwood, the glass block, all the clear window pane there, it looks like a late 30s, 40s renovation, and that was history too, and it reads as brass. or it could be defensively brass. It kind of, it reads as brass to me when I walk by. And a lot of the efforts toward historic preservation are more about feeling than actually fact. And so I'm not bothered by the gold trim there. It does seem inappropriate architecturally, though, on wood sash on a wooden building. It seems architecturally inappropriate. So even limited to just the glazing, it's pretending to be metal, but it's not. It's wood. So that's all I have to say at the moment. On to you, if you have anything to add.
I do.
Or subtract.
I do. In terms of the black, I don't think it is incompatible with other buildings. I'm looking on Google here to refresh my memory on the colors. The fern across the street has black. The picture on here was taken when it was closed, so apparently that paint color's been there for a while. And same for Three Forks. Those are against brick. I realize it's a different, it's a different context for the color. But I do feel it is echoed there. There's also some darker paint color down the street.
Can I interrupt? Sure. A slight rebuttal that the window sash in black is a traditional treatment of window sash.
Okay.
And then other trim colors, generally lighter, less contrasty, happen to corner boards and sills. But black sash is completely in the vernacular of the time. So,
yeah, thanks for the clarification. Yeah. So I'm okay with the black. I'm a little ambivalent, honestly, on the gold. I do feel like it is heavier than it would be if it were, sort of lighter as done on hardwood. But I'm inclined to go with your suggestion. I don't think the gold itself is incompatible. I agree with Tom that maybe this is a little heavier than you would expect, but again, I'm ambivalent, so I'm leaning more towards going forward with it. Those are my comments.
And it's to Peter. Let's see, how do I want to approach this? One of our measurements in the historic district, of course, is the mother lode style of architecture, which is really flexible, and but when I look at this drawing, it seems like it doesn't quite fit with that street, with that old street. And I'm not sure if it's the body color or the black. For sure, I think the black is what pops it out and makes it look a little bit more modern. And I'm with everybody that, if the gold is really thinner and not going to be that dominant, I think that starts to fit better in with the architectural requirement of the mother lode. So that's my point. I'm okay with the body color. I think the black needs to be changed to something else, and I'm not an artist, but I think that, and if the gold is really that big, it's that combination of black and the gold seems to pop it more modern and takes away from the architectural style, the old style. I mean, these are old buildings. These are really old buildings. So that's my comment.
Can I respond to the comment?
Yeah, please.
Because we spent a lot of time on this, and we both loved the base color. And we went back and forth between white and black. And when you do white, there's so much trim. There's the balcony upstairs. There's so much trim. When you do white, it's a sore thumb. It just absolutely looks like a Victorian, some of those Victorian buildings, it just, whereas for us, when we did the black, it felt like it settled in and brought out the other color, whereas the white just, I think, I hated it. It just was too much contrast, you know? So we looked at a lot of different trim colors, and that's the reason we chose the black, is because it would settle in versus pop out. I mean, because if you look at the balcony, the railing, there's so much there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a white trim on the right, on the building to the left.
Well, the Crazy Horse is all white. They literally, brown downstairs and white up's completely white, you know? Yeah.
Well, I'm coming from the requirement of the mother lode style architecture, and this combination doesn't do it for me. And it's nothing, I'm not against black, okay, but I am for the historic district, and this is one of our 2 streets that really sells Nevada City and its architectural history. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just underline, well, so, agreed, it's a lot of trim, and the black is also very contrasty, though less so than the white. I mean, your point is heard. And yet, black is not a disallowed color in historic buildings, but in its historic place. So, yeah, I mean, do you have, I don't know, was there another trim color that you considered that was less contrasty?
White was the worst. And any of the ones that were blue and green, just everything just kind of became blah. So the black just, I don't know, it just seemed to give some aesthetic. It just, because one of the cool things about the building is the trim. It's the old style, right? But I didn't want it to just pop out and not see anything else. So the black feels like it put it all together. I mean, that's where I painted it downstairs in that little section to see. And I mean, I can tell you, I work there every day, and people come by and go, "Oh my God, is that going to be the color? It's just going to be gorgeous." Yeah. Then everybody. So I have not heard any negative about that for sure.
Oh, those people are just going to save it for Facebook.
It's true. Huh?
They're not going to say it to your face.
No, once we open, I already know. Everybody in town's told me, once we open, it's just going to be like, oh God.
I think Lisa had a picture up of the street view earlier, which is really helpful. Personally, I'm always inclined to just let a business determine what it is that they want to express themselves. In this one, I have a little hesitation, because when I look at it from this view, you can see exactly how all the black trim would just pop out in really stark contrast with a lot of the muted colors up and down the street. I'm not saying that I'm going to vote against it, but I wonder, this is the thing I hate most about being in this seat, is asking you to reconsider all the other possibilities that you hadn't before.
Could I ask Lisa, just spin the camera around so you can
To
see
the other side.
of the street?
Yeah, and I also agree with Rod completely. Like, on the other side, you've got all the black.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I also agree with Tom that it's against brick and in a kind of different context.
Well, the neighbor has
There's
black,
not
has
as much of
white
it.
railing and black trim. They have white and black. But I mean, I don't think any of those paints were ever approved. You know, even the paint that's on my building, I know wasn't approved. It's baby blue. There's no way.
Well,
I guess I'd also
that's history.
add,
We get a chance.
No, that's true,
We get
too.
a chance to rewrite history.
Right, 'cause I mean, you can
and
see
that's
the-
one of our jobs.
Yeah, the neighbor's
I love this
black
part
and
where it
white.
just disappears. I want to add one more thing too, which to maybe ease my own anxiety or anyone else in this situation, is that it's going to get dusty, it's going to get covered in pollen, it's going to mute. And I think that that's okay as well. I think it's going to be really shiny in the beginning, and then it's going to start to fade a little bit, and that's sort of the beauty of it for me as well.
And I'd like to add, I mean, I think, you know, people that look at your sample colors and in another context, I think it looks great too. Because black trim is a very current trend, so we all like it. And it brings that trend somewhat to a historic street, which we kind of have to fight against to retain sort of the magic spell of Commercial Street, the magic spell of Broad Street, those two streets especially, and Spring Street as well. You kind of have a feeling that you're in another time, and so that's what our business is, and that's what the historic ordinance is about, and it's a lot of black.
I have, oh, sorry.
And I agree with Amy. What's good for your business is good for the city. We're also not fighting for, but advocating for the historic context that other business owners appreciate in Nevada City. So that's where I'm coming from. There's an expectation of a certain not standard, but a certain aesthetic being maintained, and so my response is about that.
I wonder if some of the contrast that seems to be hitting a nerve could be muted with some addition of an ivory color to it. Would that get too busy?
Yeah.
Like, because I'm looking in the, sorry, Lisa, to do this to you again, but in the picture, there's this pillar in the building next to you where Two Little Birds is, and that building has kind of a nice ivory and black contrast.
I was thinking maybe more in line with what, I think you definitely like the dark trim. I was wondering if, in skimming through some other Victorian palettes, you had a dark trim but not black that had some green to it, essentially, you know, having like a slightly darker version of your body as the trim, and then a slightly lighter version of this for the body. So you'd still have the dark trim on light theme, but it just wouldn't be a pure black.
And I was thinking moving.
My responses would be, is that we've been working on these, not myself, my girlfriend, my partner in this business, has been working on this for 4 months.
Yep.
And she has looked at every single one of the Benjamin Moore historical colors, and we painted, if you went on our balcony upstairs, you could see, not where the public can view, but where we can view, we painted the combinations of the colors and the trims, and there's no doubt in my mind that, and hers too, that the black is just, it's the one that really makes that color settle. And it's unfortunate, Amy, what you said, it's fortunate and unfortunate, like within a day, it gets pollen, so it really becomes the positive thing, it makes it look old. Because whenever you paint a building, just brand new paint, it looks new. But I don't want it to look new, because you've seen, Tom, you've seen inside. I don't want anything to look new. I want you to feel like you're walking back in time. That's what I really tried to do on the inside. And so, I mean, yeah.
I think in this case, though, to me, what it feels like is almost like a New Orleans house out of an Anne Rice novel. Like there's something extremely gothic about it, you know, especially with that.
Thank you or not.
I don't either. It's a vibe. And I think that where the hesitation lies for me is that it's not just that it's black trim, it's that it's like everything. Whereas when you look around with other trim details, you see it mixed up a little bit between contrasts. And that's what drew my eye to the house next door, is that it's not an entire pillar that's painted one color. It's got a little bit that breaks it up for the eye. And I'm just throwing this out as a means of talking about it. Ultimately, if you want to stick to the black, that's
a thing that we will vote on.
Okay.
And I would encourage considering a dark trim to be sure, that is short of black per Commissioner Brown's weigh-in. And this color thing is really hard. Like, I had to ask someone else to tell me what colors to paint my house because there were too many choices, and so I don't have a solution to that problem for you,
Okay.
but I know how difficult it is.
Yeah. I'm not an artist, so, but I can look at a building and I can look at a street and see things that pop out or don't pop out or work or don't work. And as I said, the black with the background doesn't seem to fit with the rest of the street, even though there's brick across. I understand all of that stuff. But while we were having the discussion, what occurred to me is perhaps a gray trim rather than a black trim would fit. It would fit with the background color, and it would not be popping out as much.
Well, that's.
But let me finish. I dislike the idea that we dictate colors. Okay, we can do that, I guess. We can. But my comment really is toning down the black so that's not the architectural feature that you see, which is in contrast to the rest of the street and Broad and all the downtown streets. So that's my.
And it may seem as though we're really, beating you up or beating the poor dead horse, but it's a very impacty thing. So we tend to discuss things fully and explore things fully here.
I did have one more comment on something we hadn't touched on. Regarding the gold, looking at it, as I said before, I'm inclined to go with the gold as you approve. The one thing that I might recommend, especially looking at your the whole building front rendering, you had the vents up at the top painted in that gold color.
Those were gold?
On the rendering?
In the rendering they are.
Yeah, they are.
They shouldn't be, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Christine did that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna be black, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it'll be better just as that subtle
Yeah,
turn.
or it may even just be the base color, because I don't want that, that needs to go into the.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my point. Thank you.
I have another comment. I'm not necessarily opposed to the black. Like, again, I think like Amy said, it wouldn't be like, I understand, I think gray wouldn't pop out enough against the background. They would melt into each other, and I think it would be a shame to not get to see those architectural details. I think and you don't need to pull it up again, Lisa, but like when you see from the side, like you can see all of the, tell me what those parts of the balcony are called, spindles. And if it were black, like you wouldn't see those, like from certain angles. And I think that's a real shame, especially when you're talking about it as trying to, the language you're using makes me think you want those to pop out less. And I think it's like a very wonderful part of that building that makes you excited to be in Nevada City. Like you see it and you're like, whoa, like this is a different time, And to erase a little bit of that from the street view is kind of a shame. I don't necessarily think that means we shouldn't let you paint it black, But it's just, it was just what I thought. Like I like that what you call an eyesore, I think is like, it needs a paint job, but I think it's also beautiful. And it doesn't matter what I think. It's just,
But just.
yeah. Did I misunderstand you a little bit?
You didn't, the white, if I painted those handrails white, the only thing you'd walk up and see is that.
I think that's not bad though, especially on the spindles. I think it's great to see that from a distance, and you can't see it if it's a darker color.
And
but if the rest of it could be black, but those could be white or something,
If
something.
everything else was black and those were white, you wouldn't even see the building.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I do think having But I almost wonder, like, if this, and I do think it would be gorgeous. I agree with the people walking by. But if this color in the background, which I do love, weren't as dark, maybe you could see the black better from a distance. I mean, I just feel like, you know, maybe it's not the black, but it's lightening the building itself. Even though I do love the color, it's not.
I just want to build on that and say the building next to it has black on top, and it has black in the middle and on the bottom as well. And it is nice to see the spindles. And you can still have those black details. I guess I would just encourage you to consider that point of view as well.
And I'll add, our role isn't, I don't think we can tell an applicant what color to paint their thing. It's incumbent upon them to bring the creativity, and it's incumbent upon us to bring remind all of us about the appropriate context, and we're looking for something that could be historic, a color scheme that could be historic. There's lots of room for creativity in that set of constraints. It's like a man's suit, you know, with lapels, a collar, a tie. There's lots of room for wider lapels, you know, a double Windsor knot. Like, there's lots of room for creativity within the constraints. And I feel that this black color doesn't read as historic, which is what we're here to maintain. So it's not our job to do creativity. You've got that aplenty. I would be in support of continuing this if there's will among the commission for you to bring back an alternate color scheme.
I mean, we can do a straw poll too.
What did you say, Jen? What did you say?
We could do a straw poll, or
I'm not hearing that we have 3 that are in favor. But if somebody wants to make a motion, we could do a vote.
Can I break the tie? No, kidding.
What was that?
I said, can I break the tie if it's?
Understandable
That's why we have
sentiment.
5.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go just end on where I started. It's the historic street, and we have a obligation with all of the language about the historic district for compatibility and popping out the architectural features and all the rest of it that go into that old street. And some of them are just kind of boring, but nevertheless, it's a interesting street in the district. And so just talking about individual house, what colors and all that stuff, that's artistic and it's good, but our job, in the way I understand it, is the street and compatibility with Broad Street because it's downtown Nevada City. And for me, that combination doesn't speak to that. And end of lecture.
Right, and to amplify that somewhat, our role is to look at the whole, which is hard for an individual applicant to see, because you got your vision, and it's valid and artistic, and our job is to look at the whole composition of the town, the street, the buildings neighboring your business, to like narrow it down. So with that, yeah, I think it's just time for a motion and to test drive where we are.
Okay, I'll motion to approve.
May I suggest
Sure.
one minor change, just given the applicant was okay with it, with the vent be changed from the
Yeah.
gold to either the body color or the black trim color.
Wait, say it one more time?
She was making a motion to approve. I suggested that she modify that just to change that vent that we talked about from the gold to either the body or the trim
Okay,
color.
I understand that.
Okay, I'll motion to approve with the clarification that the vent on top is painted black, consistent with the rest of the trim.
I will second the motion.
Commissioner Cisco?
No, I don't want to approve the gold. Is that okay that I, just, no.
Yeah, you can
No,
just-
it's all the same, it's all one motion.
Yeah, so as it is, I don't want to approve it.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Mayor Van Zant?
No.
Vice Chair Cobden?
Yes.
Chair Knight?
No, sadly.
It's 3 noes.
Motion does not carry. Do we have another motion? We could motion to continue.
Sure, let's motion to, I will motion to continue.
I'll second that motion. With the request you bring an alternate color scheme that takes into consideration
The discussion.
The discussion, the shared desire for a less poppy trim color,
Which would be not white.
which is
Trust
fine.
me,
It could be.
Black is the least poppy of all. Anyway, yeah, I hear you.
I mean, if you understand the gist of our discussion.
There's
Should be a
so many
sign
other
liaison.
buildings in town that have the black, and all of a sudden I can't do the black. It's pretty crazy. But anyway, the person doing this is my girlfriend, and she's in Seattle right now, so I will inform her.
I actually the black doesn't bother me as much as the
It's
gold.
gorgeous. It'll be
So-
absolutely gorgeous on that street. I love Commercial Street. I live on Commercial Street. All the business owners have come by and seen what we're doing. They see the outside, they're like, oh my God, it's gonna be gorgeous. The guy at the Fern, his color's similar. Yeah, it's, but you know, okay, I hear you. You're saying no? And, okay.
You understand that the position that some of us taken has to do with the compatibility with the requirement that it's in a historic district and mother lode, that sort of thing. We're not against any particular color, but it's the presentation and the setting that it's in, which is why I voted no.
Okay, I hear you.
And I hope you fully understand that we're fully in support of your project, your business, your artistic vision even. It just runs counter to some of our take on the historic context in your specific location.
I mean, probably the best thing is don't paint it, because then it would be historic, right? Just leave it. I mean, that's what somebody's done for 30 years, so I can do that. I can just leave it.
We'll get you there, Jimmy.
Pardon me?
I'll make some notes for you so that you can pass them on to Christine.
Okay.
And maybe a few suggestions, and then you can come back to the next meeting in September, and
She'll
we
come.
can review
I
it
won't come,
again.
she'll come, yeah.
Okay.
She wanted to be here, but she's in Seattle right now. Yeah.
Perhaps you'll be your own devil's advocate and you'll show us an alternative and we'll say, wow, what you had, we get it, you know?
I
Like
really hope that happens. I
You
do, I
might.
really do.
I
yeah.
mean, there's,
Yeah.
it's-
Oh, God, because I mean,
we're human and you know, it's,
I mean, I like a lot of different things. So yeah, there's probably 20 different combinations that I could like. There's no doubt. I'm not saying, oh, this is it. I'm just saying the person that did this is Christine, who's my partner here. And
it is beautiful.
it's gorgeous.
beautiful.
It's
Yeah, there's
absolutely
no-
gorgeous. Yeah, it's, yeah,
Not questioning that.
yeah.
Do we need a vote?
Do we have a motion to
We
continue?
did, the motion failed.
Do we have a
Oh,
motion?
We have a motion to continue, though.
Oh, the motion to
You made
continue.
one?
I move we can, I think I made a motion.
You did.
Amy made the motion and Chair Nye seconded it. We haven't voted
Oh,
yet.
the motion to continue. Thank you.
I thought it was the opposite way. It was the opposite.
Thank you.
I say so many things.
I wrote it.
Busy day.
Donna, roll call?
Commissioner Shisko.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden.
Yes.
And Chair Knight.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you and sorry.
Yeah, thank you, sorry.
For me, it's going to be Christine, so. Yeah.
Okay, so sign review. So it's down past the staff report for the Fern. You'll find the sign for the river. And the request is for an approval of a sign that's 30 inches by 20 inches, two-sided. It proposes to hang from 2 chains from the balcony. The sign colors are Knoxville gray with a black background, and it's sort of a special effect. The Knoxville gray would be painted on the sign and then a black over the top so that it's sort of just a very light layer of paint so that the grayish green comes through a little bit and looks like a sort of antique effect. The accent on the sign is the gold, which is the same as what you just reviewed on the repaint application. The white is a standard white, and the sign graphics, as you see, are the tap handle flowing with building silhouette in the background. The font is Hydrant font paired with Montserrat. And I think that captures it for you all. Did I miss anything, Jimmy?
Questions from the commission?
Questions? No.
I have a question for the applicant. Given that the colors in this are comparable, are basically the same as what you just approved for, or what you just proposed for the building.
Right.
If the building were to change colors, would you want to change the sign colors as well?
I don't even know how to answer that question.
Yeah. I guess my.
Unadvised counsel.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that the sign color, the background is black. And as Lisa said, there's just a little bit of the hint of the color, like kind of a faux over the background, just to give it kind of a blend. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. The answer is probably no, because if the building, if we're gonna, it sounds like everybody's okay with the color of the building. I can't imagine you would not want, it's okay to have a little bit of gold in the sign, and then the letters are white, so I mean, yeah, the answer is yeah, probably the same sign.
Okay. And if you change your mind later, you could always come back.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. That was my question.
My question is the city silhouette, is that an outline of something?
Yeah, it's Commercial Street, yeah.
Yeah, I looked it up and I was like, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Well, it's not just arbitrary.
I think we're back to basics again, and we do a lot of signs.
Yeah.
We're asking questions first.
Sorry.
Yeah. Must go through the format. Questions down this way, Vice Chair? Any public comments? Going through the format. Okay, now discussion. Peter, do you want to start?
Yeah. Our sign ordinance is clear that the name of the establishment and what you do, Amy's Hair Cutting, So that's our starting point. And I look at this sign and it has Nevada City, which is required. It has the faucet in the background, and then the river downtown, is that the name of your business?
Yep,
Okay.
California
And then-
Corporation. Yep.
Okay, that's okay then. And then the description, watering hole and grubs. So by the signs that we encourage and vote on, so it would be the river downtown, watering hole, and grub. That would be the name of your establishment. And I don't have a problem with the colors, by the way. And that would describe what it does.
Yep.
And that would be compatible with most of the signs in town, in the historic district. So that part of the code is much more direct than what we were talking about previously. So what's the name of it? What does it do? Or what's available? Those are the two things. The fern across the street sign, I believe, is a sample of that.
No comment this time.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice composition. The only issue I have is with the cityscape behind it. I think and we're advised by the legal department from First Amendment standpoint, we don't edit like what you're saying in your sign, but we do weigh in on the aesthetics of it. I find the cityscape makes it a little messy, but I like everything else about it. Hydrant. It's a very wet.
tap.
It's a very the font is called hydrant.
Oh.
This is just me.
Okay.
And isn't it?
You're
Yeah,
correct,
and it's a
yes.
very wet-looking font, which is like perfectly
funny,
appropriate for the river. The tap, that's what you do, watering hole and grub. I don't have a problem with the Nevada City thing at the top because it makes for a nice composition for what you do.
Yep.
Watering hole and grub, though I would want to eliminate the cityscape because it's not really graphically clear what it is. It's kind of it's a little bit esoteric, and I don't think it adds to the composition. That's the extent of my comment. Also, that the gold color is very much in keeping with signs. The color compo is great.
Yeah.
Great.
I find it a bit too busy. If it were me, I would remove Nevada City, I would remove Watering Hole and Grub, and the Nevada City background. Personally, that's just because I find there's just a lot going on. My favorite signs in town personally are the ones that are the simplest. Or at least this one reads a bit modern to me in the way that it is. It feels like American, like the new American vibe of exactly what I think you're going for, but it's not the aesthetic that some favorite examples. For example, Three Forks has a really beautiful, very subtle burnt wood sign. Mama Madrone's has a very elaborate wooden sign, but it is also simple in a way. I say that just to give you an idea of what separates what I like from what I'm seeing in front of me, which is reading extremely modern in the black, white, and gold in the way that it's delivered. With the thin line of the silhouette, that to me speaks more to like an Art Deco or even 80s, 90s kind of look. Yeah, so I'd simplify it. I'd have less of these like subtle details and just have the river downtown.
Lose the faucet?
It's a tap. I would go ahead and, like, the tap's fine. I think that the tap would be better served without
the small writing and the cityscape behind it.
All right, my turn. I agree. I think for the sign, it could be simpler, but I immediately recognized commercials. You know, I thought it was a really cool thing, and I like, even though that's not where the river is, it's like, I liked the feel of it. I think what you want for your logo is maybe different from what you need on your sign. I don't know, does that happen a lot here where your sign has to be a little different from what your logo is because you can't, I don't know. Branding, I understand wanting to have everything look the same, but it does feel modern to me. I was kind of looking up the font, like the Montserrat, and I was like, oh, it's inspired by 1920s Argentina. Like, it's beautiful, and it feels, but then also there was a lot happening in 1920s Nevada City too. You know, like, who's to say what history is the most, I mean, I guess we're to say, but.
Motherlode.
The Motherlode, yeah.
That's our,
Ever-moving target.
But I think it's a really cool concept. Like, whoever designed it, it's really cool. And but it is kind of busy. I would like to see it. I think like seeing it painted feels different from this too. You know, like it would look really different painted. And having it not be so perfect would probably be like, it would work, you know, like you can't paint things perfectly, and I think it would do what it needed to do just by being hand painted.
The concept is for someone to cut the letters and the designs on a CNC machine and then fill the holes with the color.
Okay,
So it becomes flat, but it's that way, I mean, it'll hold up forever.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really, yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
And the black will get dusty.
I do
Being
think
cute, forgive me.
I know.
And
I
look
do,
old, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I do think the watering hole and grub, like, I do think it's kind of important to say what it is that you do, you know, like,
We felt that's like the Old West, you know, you go in the
yeah,
watering hole,
I
you go
kind
in
of
the
like that
grub.
those words are on there, and I like how you did it
And the
too.
reason we put Nevada City is because if you have to, it has to balance, you know?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's,
From a design standpoint, because if you put just watering hole and grub, it would feel not balanced.
With the same shape and above and below, without kind of a symmetrical balancing thing.
Yeah, and I loved it.
Words.
I want to say Nevada City, I'm proud of this
Sure.
place. I want,
Sure.
you know.
I would add, though, that there are plenty of signs in town, just for consideration, that don't advertise what they are. And I have to apologize, the signs are some of the most tricky things that I think we do, even though we have these guidelines, and I feel so terrible for our applicants when we take issue with a sign, because it's so hard to communicate exactly what it is that works or doesn't. I just don't think that you need to say watering hole and grub. You've got these beautiful windows right there where people are going to be able to look in and see what's happening. Probably they're going to find you as well through Yelp or through other recommendations. I don't think that you need to rely on it. And I say that because I think that the sign would be much more beautiful and do you a better service by being more simple. And I just also want to add that in the street view that you provided for us, I would actually maybe demand that instead of the chains that are currently there, that the chains are black, or that the connection is black. Because it blends in well with the sign, and then also allows that incredible light fixture to shine a little bit better.
They would be black. It doesn't say, the chain links definitely
The
would be
picture,
black.
just the picture had like a very shiny,
Oh, I cut and paste from,
okay, that's totally great, just as a,
So the description
know.
does say a black chain?
yeah, okay.
It'd be nice if you were to leave with a really clear direction rather than a bring back on your sign. Any further discussion?
I would add the sign having Nevada City, California. I know that's not typical, but somebody might have a really great dinner there and take a photo under the sign. And then the watering hole and grub, just, you know, with the tap being on the sign, the grub portion lets people know that there's food inside when they might just see somebody sitting at the bar.
I'll add my agreement. I'm completely fine with Hunter Hole and Grub. I think it's very consistent. We even talked about it in our guidelines of having what people do, so.
Me too, and it makes for a strong reason for the shape of the sign, which is like a really great shape. You know, we are tasked to do sign reviews, everything architectural review that is compatible with mother lode style architecture, though not consistent with. It'd be easier if it were, if our task were consistency, because then we'd be in a much narrower, band. But the signs do have a certain cohesion in town. They have a certain cohesion, I feel, that other cities don't, while still expressing really the individuality of each business really creatively. So it's a process I think works and serves the town well. So I'm just like explaining to you essentially what our process is about and what it's for. Again, the whole thing is just fine, minus the cityscape, because I think it adds unnecessary complexity to the visual, and has a modern look. I think Amy characterized it as somewhat deco, or 80s, 90s. I think it's not in the. I think it takes us out of our time zone.
80s, 90s does deco.
Frasier.
Frasier, okay, yeah, interesting.
These are TV references? Yes, that's right, yeah.
That's what.
Again, it's like subtle, almost subliminal communication.
Well, I mean, the reason we did it is because we're the river downtown. We're not just the river, it's the river downtown. So it's the river downtown, so it's all.
But it says it in words, though.
I just want to say, like, I like all of the individual elements. I think there's just too much on here for me. I would even go so far as to say is taking watering hole and grub out. There's something about the word grub. It's just really getting me. And replacing it with the downtown. But I also really appreciate Lisa's point. I think that that's a really excellent.
I mean, the other thing we had was tap, lounge, and bites, but for me, that just sounds modern.
I don't like bites
The reason we came back
either.
and said watering hole, that's what they used to say. And, oh, let's go get some grub. That's what they used to say back in the 1800s. That's why we put it, you know.
And
It wouldn't look that way, though. Like, on the one hand, like, I see the reference, but on the other hand, it would never look that way in an old sign. So there's a dissonance there that apparently hits a nerve with me, but I'm one voice here.
Well, it is in the historic district, so what you're talking about is if it's super modern, doesn't fit in with the signs we usually approve.
Yeah. And I should add, I find myself inclined to let someone do whatever they want with their sign. I don't care. I think for some reason right now I see so much great potential here, and that's why I'm being such a bulldog about it. So I'm gonna back off for the benefit of everyone.
I think it's one thing when the applicant is receptive to a change regarding some sort of graphic on the sign, and they're like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter to me, like I'll take it off. I think it's another thing when it's something that they want to be included.
Yeah.
And I think that it's your responsibility to look at the guidelines in the code to determine if it's truly a feature that's making it not appear as historic and that's making it discontiguous with the guidelines and the municipal code. So that's just a reminder for you. In the staff report, A through K is our sign guidelines directly from the code. So I would just encourage you to look at those and see if that, having that commercial street outline is seeming to be appropriate.
Thanks, Lisa.
Well, the guide here in the our staff report is the exterior appearance of the proposed signage is consistent with the mother lode type of architecture. And I think we discussed that it's more modern than mother lode. That's my assessment.
Cityscape outline, and while the font may not be mother lode, though it might be because it came from Brazil.
Argentina.
Argentina. I find the whole, I personally think the whole composition is good, minus the cityscape. Because it does read as modern and not consistent with mother lode architecture.
So would you like to move?
I'd like to make a motion to see how it goes, that we approve the sign as proposed with solely with the elimination of the cityscape profile in the background.
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Cisco?
Yeah.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant?
No.
Vice Chair Cobden?
No.
Chair Nye?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, you got a sign.
So I got an approval for a sign that I didn't design. You said to remove the cityscape, right?
Correct.
I have not got approval from my partner to do that, so I understand you're giving me approval to make the sign without the cityscape, but I can't tell you we're gonna do that because I need to talk to her, because she's the one that designed it.
That's okay.
You can come back to us.
Whoa. What comes out of this body in terms of the discussion of compatibility is what you're allowed to do. It's,
No, I'm not saying we're gonna make it I'm not saying we're gonna make the sign as is. I'm just saying I can't guarantee you that we're gonna agree to that, so we may have to come back with something else.
That's fine.
That's all
Totally
I'm saying.
fine.
That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
perfectly
yeah.
okay.
In the meanwhile, if she hears the news and she's okay with it, then you do have permission to go ahead
That's
with the
right.
sign.
Got it. I understand that clearly. I just didn't want to say, oh yeah, I'm gonna go make it, because I don't know.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I get it.
Yeah, hopefully it'll fly with the rest of the design team. You don't have to like appeal or come back.
It's just her.
Yeah, no, I know.
He means.
Just her.
Thank you thank you for everything and for
Yeah.
putting up with us.
We're really excited about this project, so.
We are too.
And
We are too.
I really trust and know that it's gonna be a big addition to Commercial Street, so.
And the inside
Pretty
does look great
excited,
too. Yeah.
I'm with it.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Right, bye-bye.
We're going to have a brief recess. We're sorry, Evan. Perhaps you would like a recess.
5 minutes?
Let's call it 5, yeah.
We always
Would you
aim
like
for
10,
5,
Lisa?
plus or minus
We aim
3.
And, thanks for that.
Reminder.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We are back in session. The next item on our agenda is, oh goodness.
Big one.
I can't get it to do that. I have to say it. Item 13, Deer Creek Hazardous Fuels Reduction Project, CEQA finding and review. So if you'll cue that up for us, Lisa.
Of course. So I've got fellow staff member Evan McLenithan here. He is Nevada City's Community Risk Reduction Officer. He is very familiar with the project and has been reviewing it along with myself as the forester provided deliverables. So I'll introduce the project and then let Evan also introduce the project, and then I'll bring it back to the CEQA piece. So in May of 2023, the Sierra Nevada Conservancy awarded a planning grant to the City of Nevada City to develop an environmentally sound fuels treatment plan for heavily forested wildland properties within the wildland-urban interface, which is called the WUI. The goal of the project is to create a fuel break along the western edge of Nevada City where urban development interfaces with dense forest land to defend public and private land in Nevada City from the threat of wildfire. The forester who helped us is Kevin Whitlock, and he was contracted to develop the fuel treatment plan to be used for project implementation. Go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, thank you for having me here tonight, Commission, or afternoon, I should say. It's not quite night. What I would like to do is, one, orient you with the very long treatment plan that's in your staff packet. There's a couple pages, really, that are the key elements of this plan. And that will begin with page 16, which is a hazard potential map, and then page 24, which is a high fire severity map. These maps were created with data not only from Kevin, but from the county, the U.S. Forest Service, many other entities to illustrate the hazard that is present in that canyon if a wildfire were to ignite anywhere further down in the canyon. This plan itself really leverages great infrastructure that we have already there, including roads, the tech center, wastewater treatment plant, schools. So that's really another key element of these fuel treatment plans, is pairing them with really critical infrastructure pieces so we can get firefighters in there if necessary. We have more time, right, to tame that fire before it gets to town.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Can you put the map that he's discussing on the big screen?
The maps there's a lot of maps in that report, so these are the ones that I definitely recommend spending your most time looking at and trying to understand.
This is the first one that he referenced, and this is, what do you call this one, Evan?
The
Wildfire hazard potential. So the black outline here is the project area, aside from this parcel here. And this shows the hazard potential. So the hazard potential is based on a relationship between topography and fuel loading, right?
Yep, and these maps also, depending on which one we're looking at, will factor in wind, will factor in just the fuel density, topography, as Lisa mentioned, and kind of paint that picture of where are those areas within Nevada City that have the highest hazard potential. This, when we look at fire in Nevada City, there are a couple different scenarios that could occur. This is definitely one of those scenarios with the most kind of decadent fuels that we have within or near city limits, I should say.
What kind of fuels?
Decadent.
Lots.
Oh, interesting.
Luxurious from a fire's point of view.
But so the real beauty, like I was kind of getting to with this plan, is it's not just a patch of dirt that's going to be a fuel break. It's leveraging those access points, and we're not taking down large swaths of forest. We are very targetedly or in a targeted fashion this plan prescribes treatments in areas where you see that high fire severity potential aligned with those access points. So it really does leverage a lot, and it's not just going to be clearing out the woods per se. So if you take a look, the other map that I really recommend looking at is page 27. This is really what ties in the whole prescription. So it shows you where the activities are going to be occurring that are recommended. So it's not a one size fit all prescription for this whole area. It's very targeted depending on that topography, fire severity, and a couple other factors.
Sensitivity of resources.
Yes. So it's reading the report and what you have in your staff packet. It's a lot of going back between this map on page 20 and those treatment areas. And then Lisa, in the notice of exemption, lists out the treatment areas, which is what would be going through the CEQA process. So you can see also in that document the different varying treatments within those areas. So that's a little bit of a general overview of the plan. I'm happy, and Lisa, if you want to carry on kind of the CEQA conversation.
Yeah, so help me here. This figure 6 probability of high fire severity, the difference between this map where there's more red and orangish and yellow colors, which means higher severity, how does that compare with the wildfire hazard potential?
I believe there's a couple different factors at play. If you read the report, Kevin writes out the different wind scenarios, the different data sets that he used. From my understanding, these two kind of, the colors overlap. If you take a look at it, it's not a huge difference, but I'm pretty sure he kind of cranked up the wind or some scenarios in that second map.
So I think also to add to that, what it represents is that the chance of a fire being large or higher intensity is shown on this map, and the other is more showing just the potential for fire, not the severity.
Given fuel loading and whatnot,
Yeah,
decadent fuel.
wind.
Topography, wind.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing is that there is a strong overlap between potential and severity.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so then I'll add on to that the project area encompasses 33 parcels of private and public lands. The total project area is approximately 334 acres. The parcels include St. Canis Center, all parcels of the Tech Center, Nevada City wastewater treatment plant parcel, Nevada City open space parcel, which includes the Environs Trail, and then also a few parcels that are on the south side of Providence Mine Road. There's some large land holdings there that are actually in the county's jurisdiction. So the city for CEQA would be acting as lead agency, and the county would be responsible agency. The primary reason that the exemption is before you today is to receive any public comment on the item that might be of concern, and also to just present the project in a public meeting format, since it is going to be, for our scope, it's a large project. And nothing like this has been done in Nevada City before. CEQA findings do not require a public hearing, do not require Planning Commission to make a finding, but I do request that just, your typical high-level review could point out anything that that may be lacking or that I may have missed, and make a finding of adequacy. And the project with the treatment plan did go to the city's Fire Safety Advisory Committee several months back, and they reviewed the hazardous fuels reduction project and received a presentation from the forester.
Which kindly Commissioner Van Zant also was in attendance for.
Yes.
And then I'll speak directly to how I came up with my findings of categorical exemption. And that is that the way that the forester created his treatment plan was with the sensitivity, any potential sensitive environmental conditions within the project area were considered. So there are, as you'll see on the map here, I'll share it with you. So along Deer Creek, he put a 100-foot buffer on the creek, which becomes a no-work zone. That's no work in that area. Areas where there shows to be potential biological species or evidence of a species in the past, it has a special treatment area, and it's considered one of these FTU special treatment areas for a 100-foot buffer around the resource that could represent these, the symbology on this map could represent either cultural resource or biological resource. Also, the waterways and tributaries have a buffer applied to them, and special treatment areas for that, which include, no burn piles within the buffer area, no heavy equipment within the buffer area, still the ability to thin vegetation but pull it out of the buffer, and then the treatment has to happen outside of that. As you can see here, there's lots of different fuel treatment areas, but the majority are within a few. So fuel treatment unit 1 is 54 acres, fuel treatment units 2, 3, and 4 is 197 acres, and then so on and so forth. I did work through the CEQA checklist and looked closely at the questions to ensure that the treatment plan that the forester came up with was sufficient to satisfy the requirements of no impact under CEQA. I also looked at the exemptions to ensure that the project was qualified for an exemption. As you'll see in the categorical exemption, there's several things that need to be considered, that if those are true, then you shouldn't use the categorical exemption. So I did evaluate those. And I'm ready for your questions, comments.
Yeah, let's just free-for-all it.
First of all, I want to say thank you. This is really thorough, and it's really reassuring to see the thought that's gone into this. These are really difficult to, this is a big task, and that's very appreciated. There were a few things that stood out to me reading, and I'm trying, forgive me while I try to, let's see, up on page 117 of the packet, slash first page notice of exemption. Reading over the fuel treatments for the various units, and I'm gonna back up and say I've done a little bit of work, but not much in timber harvest plans and mark cruises for Forest Service land. Something that stood out to me was 50% removal of canopy. Let me see if I can get to it. Let's see. I see live crown. Maybe, oh shoot, did I mistake live crown for canopy? Yep, I did. Okay. I'm just going to generalize my concern. With the spacing that has been applied to the fuel treatment zones, my main concern is maintaining a consistent canopy in the forest and just double checking, doing our due diligence with the forester that will be the case for all kinds of reasons. First and foremost, preventing the growth of brush and ensuring that we have maintenance after the forest has been thinned. Do you need me to repeat that?
No, I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Maintenance and maintaining.
Canopy consistency.
And if you take the last line, I think that you're talking to prune residual trees to a height of 10 feet or 50% of live.
Of the live crown, and that is totally different than the canopy. I
Gotcha.
caught myself there, yeah.
And the also with the exemption, if you look at the DPHs too, we will not be removing large scenic trees.
How-
That's the DBHs, that's the diameter
Yeah.
of the trees.
Diameter of breast height for everyone, yes.
At 4.5 feet, you measure the tree. But, so no large mature scenic trees would be removed within this prescription, which should leave those canopies intact that I think you would have questions about.
I'd like to jump in for a second. So the large trees you speak of, even if they're within the distance between stems that's mentioned kind of regularly in these treatment areas, so if there are
Within
large,
30 feet of each other.
yeah, if they're two big, beautiful, mature trees that seem happy together, is one of them removed to maintain the distance between stems that you've laid out, like 20 to 40 feet, I think, generally?
Depending on the treatment area, those recommended spacings would be applied, if that makes sense.
Even if that necessitated the removal of whatever the term you used for the
Scenic trees.
scenic
Large,
trees.
mature, this plan does not call for any removal of large scenic trees.
So even if large scenic trees are like within 20,
It would be-
15
Those
feet
would
of
remain.
each other,
And it would be the mitigation measures of limbing them up, making sure all the ground cover's removed.
Okay.
And so on.
Yeah, for clarification, it looks like the largest trees to be removed that I'm seeing are 24 inches in diameter, which is going to be 2 feet, like something like this big.
And for that treatment unit, I do believe it stipulates between 12 and 24.
It does, yeah. The largest is going to be 24.
Maybe- Can you clarify what you meant by canopy consistency?
So my concern here is that when, in situations where you do go through with a prescription that's based on ground treatment and distance between stems, there can be situations where the canopy, which maybe is all open, like the trees' crowns touching each other, in the beginning, maybe shading out anything from growing on the ground. And if you take some small but extremely tall tree that contributes to the canopy, that you open up holes for sun to come in. And especially in the creek area, thankfully this is on the north slope and not, or a north facing slope, not a south facing slope. It just means that a bunch of vegetation can grow rapidly, and that is a fire hazard, and it's something that we would want to be able to maintain for years and years afterwards. Like when you're dealing with this up in like the Challenge area or near Camptonville, it's all different kinds of brushy, fast-growing oak, toyon, whatever, and it's a major problem.
Scott Brook too, right?
Yeah, whatever, you name it.
Yeah.
I absolutely recognize your concern with that, and to the best of my ability, when we start, because we've just finished the planning phase of this. This is the tail end of that planning process, this document and the CEQA finding. In the grant finding process, we will try to put maintenance as much as we can in that plan. And then furthermore, looking at, as we develop our own forces and whatnot, what the city can do to maintain that.
Yeah, I think along similar lines of concerns, please clarify for me, because I did not do the most thorough job reading through this, and I apologize. That is there, will there, in the final product of forest that is remaining, be a variation or attempt to save trees at different stages of growth so that there is a succession plan for canopy?
From my reading through this plan, each treatment area and our special treatment units that have very specific parameters are definitely going to leave trees that are of varying ages.
Great.
I had a question about exclusionary. Looks like, is that the Grove area, it looks like.
Yeah, so that's on the DTSC as a waste site. So that area can't be included in the project area because the project wouldn't qualify for an exemption if it were, and we wouldn't choose to work on that area. That's the responsibility of the owner to do the cleanup work on that site, and the status is active. So I assume that if he goes to develop it in the future, that he'll do the remediation work that's required, but it's not able to be cleared as of now.
Okay.
And I too didn't do a thorough job of reading it. It's a mountain of work, so well done, thank you, and well done, thank you. It appears like you really understand it. So, and we're agreeing, I guess, with making a negative declaration for CEQA. So a question that arises for me in that is that, an environmental impact could be runoff. I mean, increased erosion on some of these steep slopes with so many trees removed. And is that something that has been fully considered or addressed? I mean, that is to say, would a negative CEQA declaration be appropriate considering the possibility of erosion?
I mean, my thoughts on that would be that the places where the treatment plans, the project area is, dense forest. And so the thinning work isn't going to do like what a wildfire would do, which is, remove all of the trees and brush. So there's still going to be a very active forest present. And I did evaluate that under CEQA. And I can't remember if it's in the report or not. There's mitigation measures and best management practices at the end of the report, and I can pull that up for you. So a lot of this is going to be ensuring that we get a really good contractor to do the work that follows the plan closely. So I believe that Evan will be sort of the boots on the ground project manager, making sure that whoever comes in to help us complete the work is going through the report carefully and understands all of the setbacks from the creek areas and the specifics about, clearing certain vegetation versus not other vegetation. So yeah, I can pull that up for you.
It's actually on page 54, geology. The project consists of manual low-intensity mechanical field treatments that will not result in substantial soil erosion, and then there's 3 bullets under there talking about those practices.
And on top of that, the treatment units do take topography into account and those erosion considerations. So a lot of those steep slopes you'll see in the treatment units, that no mechanical equipment will be used really in those steep places, more of the pile burning or chipping.
If I may, is your concern that the loss of trees means a loss of soil or water absorption?
Yes, and a loss of like structural integrity of soil that trees help to reinforce.
And
I mean, and I'm not an expert here. I'm sort of asking on behalf of the public in a way. Like I'm playing, not specialist devil's advocate here, because I keep thinking about the 20 to 40 foot spacing between stems, which sounds like a lot of trees. And on a very steep slope, I don't know, is that, measured on the, on the level, is it measured on a horizontal basis or is it measured lineally? It's a longer line going up the slope than it is measuring horizontally. And I mean, I'm just thinking about a lot of vegetation being removed, and
Can I?
Sure.
Something that I would like to offer, and I'm sure Evan's going to have a lot more to say about it, is that first and foremost, we have been in the midst of a very long drought. We aren't there right now, but it is something that comes and goes, and we can expect more of in the future. And trees are thirsty, and I think that in these situations, what this is going to do is going to promote a healthier forest where we have stronger trees that are better able to absorb that water when it's available. So all in all, this is about a healthy forest. But secondly,
Can I interrupt just a second? Do you agree with what
So,
Vice Chair Cobb is
yes,
saying?
and it does tie back a lot to the natural fire history that we've put a stop to in the past, and what that healthy forest would look like. You would definitely have much more of an open environment than what we see today.
I'd also like to offer that in the exclusionary 100-foot creek setback zones, that's also going to be absorbing a lot of the water, because those zones are not going to be impacted as heavily or removed from. So you've got this kind of like catchment. That is also going to maintain the integrity, and healthy trees are going to maintain a more healthy integrity of ground. But then lastly, when conceiving of how this is all going to look visually, I would encourage anyone to take a walk through the Tribute Trail, especially where the suspension bridge is, because a lot of what we're talking about here is what that looks like in practice.
The distance between stems as well, I keep going back to that
So,
because it sounds
and-
like a big number, but yes? Is that-
I want to say so, and that is also specifically because, like Evan pointed out, trees larger than 2 feet in diameter are going to be left. So you're gonna have a lot of big trees still. And we're allowing them to stay healthy.
I think the term is open forest, from dense forest to open forest. It's still a forest.
And also what we become accustomed to and they're comfortable with in a lot of cases isn't necessarily good.
No, I get that, like terribly overgrown.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm just like asking the dumb questions.
Asking great questions.
appreciate it.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Please.
Yes, okay.
We specialize in them.
Yeah, I don't believe in them. On page 25, there, on table 4, the fuel treatment types, I just wanted to clarify what this chart, it seems really straightforward, and then it doesn't to me. Because I think, less is more. Like, you want to do as little to the natural environment with the greatest positive impact, right? So I'm seeing, I'm understanding that all these things like decrease ladder fuels, but then no effect on fire resilience. And I guess when I get to that point, I go, wait, wouldn't it though? It doesn't decreasing ladder fuels have a positive effect on fire? I guess I'm just wondering if I'm reading this wrong, or if I'm just does my question make sense at all?
That sounds like a really good dumb question that maybe Evan can answer.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm
trying to
asking
sort
it
through
correctly,
here.
but I feel like they should have an effect unless I'm am I misunderstanding what fire resilience is or something, which is possible.
Well, wait, so the question is,
Why don't they have an effect on fire? Why don't some of these things have any effect on fire resilience if they're decreasing ladder? It seems like that would be an increase in fire resilience.
The pruning
right?
specifically?
Yeah, so I'm wondering why we're recommending them if they don't they don't have an effect on fire resilience.
I think some of those points actually go to Commissioner Cobden's point of when you start pruning, you do enter more sunlight, which then promotes more growth and things along that. So this gives you a very direct characteristics for each treatment, not necessarily when they're paired together and seen as the whole picture.
Interesting.
Hopefully that helps.
No, that's wonderful. I believed your report, but I was like, wait, this is making me question everything. So thank you. That helps because, yeah, I
And-
appreciate all of this.
Yeah, and like I said at the beginning of this all, these fuel treatments, sometimes in a wind-driven fire scenario, depending where they're located, can have absolutely no effect if it's a wind-driven ember fire. But
Got it.
with its pairing to infrastructure and roads and access, we see great increase in fire resilience, right? Because we can get resources in there. We can actually try
right.
to put a stop to it.
Direct thing. Yep, that is really helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That kind of, what you've said kind of speaks to the thoroughness and comprehensiveness of this plan.
Yeah, That's
And the forester really tried to take in the community concerns in this report. That's why typically you would not see such an educational component on that front half. But really the front half of this report is strictly kind of educational, explaining surface fields, explaining fire behavior. And it's available on our website for the public consumption. So if anyone does have questions in your spheres, please let them know. I'd also be remiss if I didn't give some credit to the Deer Creek Southside Firewise community that kind of spearheaded this from a grassroots effort, and then the city took it on from them. So huge shout out to that group.
It was informative and disturbing. Yeah, it was. Definitely. I enjoyed reading it and was also like, oh gosh, I'm glad you're doing something.
Okay. Question looking forward.
Yes.
Do we have the finances or grants or whatever to start the treatment?
No.
Okay.
No,
so
but we gotta have
this
the
is-
plan to
this
get
is
the
other
grant.
step.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to have the plan to apply for the grant.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a big project. It's going to cost a lot of money. So now that we have a plan, once it's the CEQA is completed, then we could start doing some work on the ground with city staff or volunteers, or what do you call that group?
There's, a CNA, CAL FIRE hand crew that's offered some services for the city,
Yeah.
free of charge, so that's nice.
And you would be supervising?
That would need that linkage between, flagging the units and having some forester on the ground, would be paired with me and then organizing that work. But the real intent behind this planning grant is to apply for a whole project grant funds. There's some anticipated funding sources in the fall from CAL FIRE, wildfire prevention grants, along with some other ones that might be a little bit more long-term, but that's kind of our first avenue, depending on how many funds they have available come the fall. And very much so in my communications with CAL FIRE, the Foresters' communications with CAL FIRE, this is a project that has all the planning done. It's ready to break ground, and really everyone would be excited to fund this project.
And just to ease any concerns, I've seen lots of Class 4 minor alteration to land categorical exemptions filed for field treatment projects that are very similar to this.
I was going there soon, so thanks.
Yeah, I did research. I also see it almost every time I go up to the county to record something. You'll see that, somebody from CAL FIRE or another agency or even SNC or another group has a document that's posted and that was recorded recently. So a lot of folks in California are using this exemption for field treatment projects.
Because it'd be terrible for the project to, if, once it got underway, for there to be some issue or inconsistency with general practice regarding CEQA. So, okay, great.
Yeah, I'll just note too, you mentioned volunteers working on this. So during the pandemic, one of my neighbors organized some of us to work down there towards the water treatment plant. And it was a lot of hours, and it was a tiny portion of this. So just emphasized to me how immense this scale is. We put in a lot of work, but it barely made a dent.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to see green as we get closer to town and my house.
Ah.
Not that, as you mentioned,
The tough thing with the modeling is they don't account for structures yet. There's no software data analyses that account for structures as fuel yet, but.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind those
I know.
things.
And I was looking.
Well, notice the tech center has got some clearance.
And they've
done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Especially immediately close to their structure.
Yeah.
Things look pretty good.
Yeah.
I was looking at the CAPC, which for your info, and it was a plan that we adopted last year.
Okay.
Called the Climate Adaptation and Safety Element. And I was looking at the goals and policies in the plan today, and I was happy to see that we're actually, with this project, we'll be implementing some of those. So goal number FP5 is reduce fire severity and intensity through fuels management. Policy FP9 is encourage fuel modification on public and private forest land, such as the use of prescribed burning and creation of long-term maintenance of community fire breaks, fuel breaks in strategic areas located in and around the city, such as the Deer Creek watershed. Policy FP17, support and participate with partner agencies such as Nevada County, the Nevada County Consolidated Protection District, CAL FIRE, Nevada County Fire Safe Council, and City of Grass Valley to develop a local program to identify, prioritize, and fund fuel modification projects such as community fire breaks and long-term maintenance to protect new and existing developments. So we are partnering with the county on this for those few parcels. Policy FP17, support and participate with partner agencies